Morning.
Well, good morning.
Felipe, he's really quiet. You got to turn David up. Oh, you're not there. Need David's volume up. Try that again, David. You were really quiet.
32321 32321.
Okay. Yes, he did.
One minute. $30. $10.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And it is a football Friday. And we ask the question, how the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week's gone pretty well. Let's end it together, shall we, here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, David. Excited about a football Friday? Excited about another week of college and NFL action? And a lot of baseball over the weekend as well. It's that great time of sports.
It is. It's the sports equinox yesterday, like one of, 27th day ever that all four major sports were taking place at the exact same time. And we don't mean the seasons overlapping. We mean an exact day in which NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, there were games taking place in all four. Hell, there were even MLS playoffs last night if you're into that sort of thing. But, Mark, there was also a trade last night.
Yes, there was.
This morning, whenever you want to call it. Finally, the National Football League getting with the times. It's a trendsetter in so many areas, but where it was lagging far behind was trades, and particularly trading good players. Impact players, not a spare lineman because I need a body for a conditional 7th round pick. No. We're talking like, hey, you know what I could use? Besides a Joe Burrow, because who couldn't use a Joe Burrow? But, I could use a Christian McCaffrey. Hey, Carolina, are you willing to trade Christian McCaffrey? And Mark, up until last 2-3 years, the answer would have been, are you out of your flipping mind? This ain't fantasy football, dude. Put the bottle down and go to work. And now it's like, well, sure. What are you offering?
Now, I don't think we'll ever see an in-season trade where a good player is traded for a good player, if you know what I mean. Baseball and basketball and hockey, sometimes there are trades and you go, damn, they traded Miller for Moulton, and both sides seem to be better because of it. I don't think we'll ever have that in season in football, but we now finally have teams who have realized that certain players won't even be able to compete for championships during their best time. And why not get something for them? Why not make a move to try to make yourself better down the road when you know you're going nowhere? And that's where Carolina is right now. Carolina raised the white flag.
Yes, they did. And the San Francisco 49ers said, we really do want to win the damn Super Bowl. We've been close 2 of the last 3 years. And you know what? We're serious. And we took a look around this NFC, and let me tell you, it's pretty damn mediocre.
And we weren't serious when the season started because we were starting Trey Lance, and we had no chance to win a Super Bowl. But once he was injured, and we put the guy that we were trying to trade back into the lineup, then that moment, because David, your original statement is actually incredibly false. They didn't want to win a Super Bowl. Not in August.
No, not even in mid-September. No. They were just going through the motions. They were doing what organizations do, Mark. They're putting the young guy in and they're taking their lumps.
I'm so glad you said that word that way. Because the rest of the sports world has come to my sport. There was a time that only a hockey player said organization. And now nearly every athlete in every sport refers to it as an organization. And I think hockey needs a
little credit.
A little pat on the back saying, hey, boys, way to go.
I think boys also came from hockey, too. All right. A lot more boys in sports now, and I think that also came from hockey. Bunch of 34-year-old men with 3-month-old beards. Okay. And they're sitting there going, me and the boys.
Let's go, boys. Let's have a good shift, boys. You're right.
But Christian McCaffrey traded to the San Francisco 49ers overnight. And the trading deadline is a week from Tuesday. maybe now a few teams could go, well, I mean, if the Panthers can trade McCaffrey, why can't we trade so-and-so? I mean, it's not like anybody's going to, give us a hard time. I mean, Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey, for goodness sakes. First off, do you like the deal for both teams? Panthers do not get a first-round pick. But they get a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth over the next two drafts. A second, a third, and a fourth next year, and a fifth the following year.
Well, I love it for San Francisco. I do. You're giving up 4 picks to get a stud in a division that's winnable, in a conference that's winnable. I don't think you replace – I think it's impossible to believe you're going to replace McCaffrey with what you're getting in draft picks. But from Carolina's standpoint, the injury bug was there. I didn't think they were ever going to get a first-round pick because of the previous injuries that McCaffrey had. So I think it's a pretty good trade. I think San Francisco won the trade, but not overwhelmingly, David.
And Carolina has McCaffrey signed so that he's making 12 next year. It's another reason why people didn't think Carolina would be able to get a first-round pick, because it's not like McCaffrey's price is small. It's not like he's making $4.8 million or anything like that. I mean, he's on the books next year for 12. So, but the Niners, who have a ton of injuries on defense, but also lost one of their top running backs for the season, and McCaffrey, who, of course, played his college ball in the Bay Area at Stanford, and now he gets to return. And sure, it'll take him a little while to, figure things out, but that's okay. That's all right. They got time. This is all about January, right?
Right.
I mean, they're probably going to lose to the Chiefs this weekend and fall to 3-4. But heck, the Niners are like, well, we were 3-5 last year. I mean, and it's the NFC. I mean, wins and losses. You don't even take them seriously before Thanksgiving. This is all just, posturing. It's like the Coca-Cola 600. We're just putting in laps. That's all we're doing right now. Let me know when we're like 400 miles in where we stand. What do we have to do? So there you have it. Overnight.
Do you think
NFL.
San Francisco won the trade? Do you think Carolina? How do you equate this trade? Do you think both teams won?
Yeah, I think it's a win-win. Carolina frees up some money, and also now they can. I also think that organization needs clarity. They need the Christian McCaffrey, often injured. They what's the most important availability? McCaffrey's availability has been in question now for 2.5 years. If you're Carolina, you need definites going forward. Here's the other thing. If you're Carolina, when are you going to be good again? And how much wear and tear off Christian McCaffrey's tires is that going to be from now? I mean, are you going to be good next year? Probably not. So you're looking at 24 at the earliest. Well, that's another 1.5 years on a running back's life. And I don't even know if you'll be able to pull this off by 2024. Quite frankly, you got to hit on a quarterback right away. Like this offseason, you got to hit on a quarterback to be good in 2024. So I think that's another reason why the Panthers are like, well, listen, I mean, by the time we're good again, McCaffrey's going to be on the downside. And who knows how many injuries he'll have between now and then.
Totally. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, is that, I think you'll see more of teams who feel they have no shot trade some quality parts. I hope that this starts us off and gives us 4, 5, 6 trades in a week where teams because if you're in the NFC right now, it's tough to raise the white flag for most teams.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints, even at 2-5 now, are thinking, well, the Eagles were 2-5 last year, and they edged us out of a playoff spot at 9-8. So, we're not out of this. We can sneak into this, especially if we keep playing Andy Dalton. I mean, he gives and he receives. I mean, all at the same time.
Ooh. Rough end of the half.
Yes, it was.
One wasn't his fault. One clearly was.
Yes. Tell you what, if you had 2 pick sixes in the final 2 minutes of the first half, winner, chicken dinner. Should have got pretty good odds on that one, too. But I'll tell you what, though, Al and Kirk were delirious last night. We got some scoring. We got to get him.
After the last two, they should have been. More points in the second quarter than they had in the last two games combined.
Christmas came early for Al and Kirk last night in the desert. 76 points scored on Thursday Night Football.
And a coach and a quarterback yelling at one another during the game. I mean, that's a solid broadcast right there.
It really was, yeah. So, good way to start a football Friday, right? A major trade?
You got it right. You got that right.
Hot damn. So, now you wonder also, does other teams, do they look around and go, man, got to get serious? That's what you do when and also it may put some pressure on some teams because you could see some fan bases and some media people in certain cities going, well, the Niners are obviously serious about going to a Super Bowl here. Are you?
I was all on board to follow that up with the Rams tried to get McCaffrey and their fan base their media. Well, the Rams were trying to get McCaffrey, so they may try to get another player. I don't know if anybody in LA will notice, David.
Not sure either because the Lakers season has started. And
exactly.
Basically, everything else is on hold. Although Travis Kelce all but said that we're expecting Odell Beckham Jr. to arrive. That's why I redid my contract. It's basically for Odell. We're making a move of some kind is what Travis said.
Yes.
You got to love these player podcasts. Especially during the season. It doesn't do us any good in April through July. You want to do a weekly one during the season where you let your guard down. That's fantastic.
It really is. They've given us a lot of juice this season, whether it's current players or former players, just about the way the sausage is made. Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up for you today. Lee Sterling in a little more than an hour to make his picks. Pat Kirwan and Chris Landry, Bob Pockrass as well, Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Bears should trade Roquan Smith also. I watched an entire game in which he didn't make a single play at or behind the line of scrimmage. But boy, he made a lot of tackles 5, 6, 8 yards downfield. Bears should trade Roquan Smith. They should trade that 30-something-year-old defensive end. Do you want the poll question to be who won the Christian McCaffrey trade? Like we could say Carolina traded McCaffrey to the Niners for a second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick over the next 2 years. You know, whose side of the deal do you like more? You know,
Sure.
Or just think it's something easy. But you leave it up all weekend. Hey, Felipe.
Yeah.
Wednesday night when it was Knicks Grizzlies and then it was Mavs Suns,
Got 10 seconds.
the baseball had 3 times the ratings that the NBA did.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour, top of the morning to you. Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Lee Sterling, who went 4-1 on his picks on this show last week and is on a bit of a heater for his clients, quite frankly, and hit both of his big unit plays, his 40-plus unit plays. He had 2 45-unit plays last week, hit them both. Lee Sterling to join us 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, in which we'll certainly get into Christian McCaffrey traded to the Niners for 4 draft picks, none of them a first-rounder, however. Bob Pockrass will join us at 9 o'clock, talk a little NASCAR. Good old boys are in Homestead with 3 races left in the season. Who's going to win the championship? Chris Landry in our 8 o'clock hour as well to talk about the college slate. I don't know about you, Mark. Sounds like a pretty decent show.
Seems like we've got this lined up today. Don't know how that came about. Somebody did something right. Must have been you.
I don't know about that. We're just continuing to fool people. Okay. We ask and they say yes, and we shake our head and go, wow, do they know what show they're on? So the Yankees in 2 games have scored 2 runs both times. And if you're keeping track at home, strikeouts 30, hits 9 for the Yankees through 2 games. Repeat that. Strikeouts 30. So 30 of their 54 outs, Mark, have been the ball not even in play. The Astros have had to field the ball 24 times in 2 games. About a dozen times a game, they got to field the ball. Well, I guess they have to pick up the hits. But then again, there's only been 9 of them.
Right. So not even 2.5 dozen on average.
Right.
Less than
No.
30.
Mm-hmm. So there you have it. Strikeouts 30, hits 9, wins 0. That's usually how that works. Houston up 2-0. Series now shifts to the Bronx. Good news for the Yankees. They will have their 2 best pitchers lined up in games 3 and 4, Cole and Cortez.
That's great. They're playing a great hitting team that I don't know how they're going to keep the Astros from scoring less than 3 most games. And at some point, when you stack your lineup as a home run hitting team and you're not hitting home runs, this is what happens. I mean, to overstate the obvious, but it is a lineup built to hit the 3-run home run.
Right.
And they're not hitting home runs. And they're not even getting on base.
Right, which really hurts your chances of the home run being a 3-run home run.
Correct.
Right. A solo shot, oh, no, we got that covered. 2 or 3-run shot, that's a problem. Once again, by the way, final at-bat of the game. Who's at the plate for the Yankees? That feared left-handed hitter, Matt Carpenter. Right. Once again, $250 million. Matt Carpenter.
Does go to the point that you and others have talked about, though, in a 9th inning to put up who you want in those situations.
Yeah, I really do think baseball, it's something to consider. If you consider all the other sports, in hockey, what do? They double shift the best players down the stretch of games, and they'll do it in overtime, especially if they can get a face-off deep in the offensive zone. We all know in the NBA, you got your very best players out there. The ball's in 2 guys' hands, 3 at most. I mean, come on, down the stretch. Do you think the ball's going to be in Steph Curry's hands? And we can go through team by team. And in football, obviously, the quarterback is touching the ball on every play.
And the rules have been changed, David. Not to interrupt, but the football, I mean, we've watched a massive change in rules over 10, 15 years to benefit the offense so that when the quarterback has it in his hands, we're going to do everything we can do to allow him to make plays to make this game more exciting at the end.
An inning in baseball is 11% of the game. So if we were to translate that into the other sports, hockey is 60 minutes. What's 11%? Well, it's basically the last 7 minutes of the game. In the NBA, it's 48 minutes. What's 11%? Well, basically 5 minutes and change. NFL, 60 minutes. The same deal. I mean, you get the idea. So now in baseball, okay, what if just for the 9th inning even? I'm willing to do it for more. I'm willing to do it for the 8th and the 9th, because then in theory, first off, your best players should get at least 5 at-bats in a game. Because if they get 3 at-bats in the first 7 innings, all right, and then you give them an at-bat in the 8th and the 9th. But if you just did it in the 9th inning, when the other team almost always has their best reliever on the mound, well, then, you get to put your 3 best hitters up. I mean, what if baseball just made that simple change? You stick with the order through 8, and in the 9th, the manager can put up whoever he wants. And if you want to make him have to declare it before the inning starts, or he's got to bring out a card and say, okay, here's the, or I don't know, 9th inning can be whatever you want. The same 3 guys, quite frankly. Or you list 4, because in theory, the bases could be loaded. Okay, and you walk to home plate and you go, these are the 4 guys that are going to hit this inning. And just these 4, by the way. And if it's 2 out, 2 on, I don't know. Figure it out. But, I mean, would that be too crazy?
It sounds nuts. And I mean, in theory, David, just you saying that sounds bizarre to most people. It would be crazy. You're changing a century-old sport and how it's played. So it would be crazy. But if you step back for a minute, and even in soccer, they go to penalty kicks. The 5 best guys kick. And that's for World Cups sometimes.
I know.
So I think it is extremely crazy. but I think it's something that the sport should at least consider. They'll never do it.
Oh, I don't know. The reason why I think it's in play is Manfred himself mentioned it 5 years ago. Mentioned that he's concerned that all the other sports build throughout the game to a crescendo late, but that the late inning relievers have become so dominant that he feels that maybe his sport is not building until the end. And that maybe this is a way to do that.
So I think it is at least something that when you first talked about it and when we first heard Manfred, I thought, what in the hell are they thinking? The more you watch these games and you don't see the best players get up in the ninth, I don't think it's the worst idea I've ever heard.
But you're right, Mark. When Manfred 5 years ago first threw this out there, I mean, people were like, you're not a baseball guy. You're an idiot. I mean, you got a hell of a job, but you're an idiot. And now, I mean, David Sampson's all for it.
Right.
And he used to run a franchise that won a World Series. So now David's also an out-of-the-box thinker. And he certainly tried a few things with the Marlins. And as he's willing to admit, and some of them didn't work at all. I will say, of all the things that he says when he makes his weekly appearance on our show, I love when he brings up somebody and he goes, yeah, we traded him.
Way too early.
Yeah, we needed a reliever and I traded him. You know, I just so just an idea. But the Yankees are down 2-0. And those tears that you hear, that's Fox. You know, they're hoping for the Yankees in the World Series.
Should be just a whimper because they should have known this was going to happen because, well, the Yankees have a daddy, and it's the Houston Astros.
Yes, it is, Mark. Yes, it is. And it could take another Yankees manager down with them. Ended Girardi's run, could end Boone's run.
Seems highly likely at the rate this one is going. The starting five is coming up next. Lee Sterling in a little more than 50 minutes right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Excuse me. Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, Bigham, I don't know if I want to see the same three guys 9 times. But just at the very end of the game, that's all. Because the other thing is that it might not be the 3 guys that you'd think the manager would be putting up there at the beginning of the game. I mean, what if the 7-hole hitter's 3 for 3? Johnny, it's here. I know it's here somewhere. I have not had time to do anything with really the house or condo.
You know, David, we haven't really discussed this, but condo life means a lot more neighbors, a lot closer.
Yes.
Are you finding yourself to be more neighborly in this?
Oh, no. No, my wife is. She'll come in usually when I get home every Tuesday night, she'll go, well, I met the lady 2 doors down. Her name is Helen. She seems very nice. I go, that's good. That's good. Yep.
That's not a horrible idea, Black Tip. Could they just add an extra designated hitter in the last inning? Okay.
So
but it's not, in theory, getting your best players up because your best players should be in the lineup. But it's not the worst idea. It gives you an extra pinch hitter. I mean, they could do that. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, but in theory, condo or black tip bass there, I mean, you're adding an inferior hitter.
Yeah, that's because it's not a starter.
Not a garage, an assigned parking spot, though, that's covered.
What the hell? Where are you going to put all your stuff?
Oh, no, we actually have a spare. We have an area that's just ours. It's actually pretty big. And it's on the same level as the condo. We're on the 3rd floor, which is the top floor.
Deluxe apartment in the sky.
Yeah, Paul, I think she ditched the boyfriend. That's how serious this move was. Doesn't mean she can't get a new one. I mean, God knows I'm out of town enough. Well, DC, that's what we're talking about. You put up anybody you want in the 9th inning. Or DC, are you talking about somebody who's already been taken out of the game?
That's what he's saying.
No. Well, you're out. You're out.
Big opportunity for Deontay Foreman here.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's good.
Wondering how much the point spread was already 11 for Tampa Bay. I'm wondering if it comes any more.
Twitch chat. Kenneth Walker or DeAndre Swift this week?
How healthy Swift?
That's the thing. I'm not sure. And he's playing against Dallas. Kenneth Walker's eating. He's playing against the Chargers.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, same.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, first hour of Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Lee Sterling, 40 minutes away from making his picks. We'll go through the NFL games beginning at the top of the hour. Right now, it is time for
the starting five, David. The starting five.
Thursday Night Football. Arizona beat New Orleans 42-34. You know, the Saints were up 14-6. And then late first half, Andy Dalton threw not one but two pick sixes in the final 2 minutes. You know, Mark, that'll really hurt your chances of winning.
That'll ruin your day.
And who knows, may very well have cost him his job, although I expected to see him replaced when they were trailing 35-17 for Jameis. And when that didn't happen, I thought to myself, you know, I don't know if Dennis Allen wants to play Jameis Winston. Because if there was ever a time to put him back in, now would be that time, right? Dalton did throw 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, 2 of them returned for scores. I mean, Kyler Murray's pretty ordinary. Cardinals were pretty ordinary, but took advantage of Saints' miscues and won 42-34 to get to 3-4 on the season. New Orleans falls to 2-5. Wow, it's a winning team last year. It's been a winning team for quite a few years. We thought they'd be a contender in the South. Not looking like it.
Not at all.
You know I'm not the fantasy football guy, but if you have Alvin Kamara, doesn't he have as many touchdowns as I have?
Think you're right.
No, that would seem to be problematic. You know, you get your hands on Alvin Kamara on your fantasy team, and then this week, you know, they're without all these guys, and you're thinking, well, they got to ride Kamara hard.
Right.
Yeah. But the big story in the NFL was not Thursday Night Football, as it turned out. It was kind of like shortly after the game when word leaked that Carolina is trading Christian McCaffrey to the Niners for 4 draft picks, 3 of them next year, a second, a third, and a fourth, and then a 5th rounder in 2024. So do you like the deal? And if so, for which side? 4 draft picks for Christian McCaffrey. Carolina, I don't think, is taking any of McCaffrey's money either. And so the Niners are all in here. Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey. What do you think? Huh?
And a Jimmy G.
Right. You know, who's solid.
Better than what they had. I don't think they make this deal if they're still with the other quarterback.
So that's the trade that went down. The trade deadline is a week from Tuesday, November 1st. Speaking of trades, Jets wide receiver Elijah Moore has requested one. He was a second-round pick just last year. The second-round pick from 2020, Denzel Mims, has also requested a trade. That goes all the way back to late in the preseason, however. So 2 of the last 3 drafts, they've drafted a wide receiver in the second round, and both those guys, they want out. Jets have said they're not trading any of them. So there, suck it up and deal. Dak says he's going to start Sunday against Detroit. He practiced. He threw about 150 passes, no limitations. He's ready to go. Mac Jones, and this is interesting wording, quote, expects to be available, unquote, for Monday Night Football against the Bears. Does that sound to you like he's starting, or does that sound to you like he's healthy enough where we can have him activated to be the backup?
What do you think happened to Mr. Bledsoe? I mean, Mac Jones?
So, do you think he's lost his job?
I don't think he lost his job, but I damn near think it's an open competition right now.
All right. Mac Jones expects to be available. If you're available to play and you're the starting quarterback, aren't you starting?
But this is your philosophy. The other quarterbacks won a couple of games. He's on a little bit of a roll. Do you change what you're doing? And that sounds like they're going to continue on with Zappy here.
Right. It sounds to me like Mac is just reaching the threshold where we can activate him, but he's not 100%, and we're going to stick with Bailey Zappi. That's right. Bailey Zappi. And he's 2-0. And he darn near beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, quite frankly. Giants wide receiver Kadarius Toney not expected to play again Sunday in Jacksonville. College football last night, when Bud Elliott says, take Troy in the points, you take Troy in the points. Troy beat South Alabama 10-6. Virginia, minor surprise, on the road in Atlanta, beat Georgia Tech 16-9. So, see, the college games took the place of the NFL game in terms of excitement and offense in Thursday Night Football.
Well, if you were watching Virginia and Georgia Tech, you may have a problem.
Ooh, baby.
Because that is bad Power 5 football right there. That is about as badly as football can be played at that level.
The Arizona Cardinals outscored those two games combined last night. Baseball, Houston with 3 in the third. Yanks did respond with 2 in the fourth, and, well, then that was it. Valdez gave up 1 earned run in 7 innings. The Yankees mustered just 4 hits to go with their 13 strikeouts. Houston, after winning Game 1 4-2, won Game 2 3-2 and lead the series to spit. Games 3, 4, and 5, if necessary, in the Bronx. Yankees do have their top 2 starters lined up in Games 3 and 4. And speaking of Game 3 of an LCS, tonight in Philly, Ranger Suarez takes the hill for the Fightin' Phils against Joe Musgrove and the Padres. Series tied at 1, 7:30, FS1. NBA. Harden, 31. He's at 35 and 31 in the first 2 games of the year for the Sixers, but they're 0-2. Milwaukee beat them 90-88. Mark, big reason why? Milwaukee hit 13 threes. Sixers hit 5. Clippers beat the Lakers 103-97. Kawhi's first game in a long time, year and a half. 14.7 rebounds for Kawhi. Working his way back. Clippers over the Lakers by 6, 103-97. Magic are in Atlanta tonight. The Heat are home for the Celtics, trying to avoid an 0-2 start.
Kawhi coming off the bench.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not ready yet. San Jose, the Sharks get their first win of the year, 3-2 in overtime over the Rangers. Pittsburgh bombed the Kings 6-1, and neither Crosby nor Malkin scored. Boston in a shootout beat Anaheim 2-1. Ottawa with 3 in the third beat the Caps 5-2. Toronto in OT beat Dallas 3-2. Devils over the Islanders 4-1. Montreal jumped out to a 5-0 lead, beat Arizona 6-2. Columbus with 4 in the third over Nashville 5-3. Minnesota, the Wild get their first win of the year, 4-3 over the Canucks. Mark, you called it. You said, if hockey's your thing, got a bunch of games tonight, but the one you probably want to watch is Edmonton, Carolina. They combined for 10 goals.
And McDavid had a 4-point night.
It's just in. He's pretty good.
He is.
Yeah. He's worth the price of admission. There are very few hockey players, right, in which you sit down and you go, you know what, this guy's worth my next 2.5 hours.
He's one. McKinnon's one. I think there are a few out there.
Yeah, but very few. Like, I don't know how many more. Certainly not more than 2 handful, right?
Right.
Like, I still watch Ovechkin, and I think Crosby's amazing still. And all the little things. I mean, the face-offs and just his hands, and I just love watching Sid play. But Edmonton 6-4 over Carolina. Buffalo handed Calgary their first loss, 6-3. Vegas 5-2 over Winnipeg. By the way, tonight, the Lightning and the Panthers play at sunrise. Just saying, Friday night. Just may want to flip over to it, folks. It's early in the season, but when you have angst, you have angst.
Probably could get a ticket for $12.
I know, that's the other thing.
Because it's in Sunrise.
Yep.
And they don't go to a hockey game before the playoffs start.
Felipe, if you're bored, you may want to look that one up. You could probably drive across the alley in about an hour and 40 minutes and boom, be there. PGA Tour. They're playing in South Carolina, the CJ Cup. Don't ask me what it stands for. Gary Woodland, Trey Mullinax tied for the lead after the first round at 6 under. 6 golfers, 1 shot back, including Rory. 6 more golfers, 2 shots back, including Victor Hovland. 11 golfers, 3 shots back, including Justin Thomas. Got to admit, it's a pretty good field for an obscure tournament in the middle of October. And that, Mark, was...
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So I nominate for a poll question. Just nomination, that's all. Can be shot down. Who do you think won the McCaffrey trade?
I've already typed it up and sent it out. You wanted that during the last break as a question. I said done. It's up.
Oh,
it's
wow.
up. There's no nominations. It's Friday. Are you serious right now? I'm not going to get in a fight about a poll question. You had a poll question before the show started, basically, and you think I'm going to take the time to outvote you on that right now?
I didn't realize that you were such a beaten man by 6:49 a.m. on a Friday. Man, you sound like you're beaten down. You know what happened? It was that round of golf on Wednesday. All right. I don't know if you've emotionally recovered.
Oh, I'm fine. No, we struggle with poll questions every day on the show. You gave me a poll question. I typed it, put it up, and hit send. That was just that easy.
Okay. I don't know. I sense your defenses down after the round of golf.
Possible.
You sounded very defeated.
Need the orange whip. And the drink, not the...
Oh, God.
Not the damn thing I've been plugging for a year and a half. I need the one John Candy was talking about in Blues Brothers.
Hey, orange whip, orange whip, orange whip.
In fact, I need all 3. But...
So Christian McCaffrey traded from Carolina to San Francisco. I am loving this. I just and you know what's great is when these things happen leading into a Pat Kirwan appearance. Because then I get to go, huh? Come on now. Come on now. I know what you think of me. And you're right. If I ran a team, we'd have a bunch of 1-16 and 2-15 seasons. But let me tell you, we'd be dealing.
You know, it'll never happen, obviously, but I don't think so. I think you get in that fraternity, and that's why they're all recycled. God forbid somebody new comes in and shows something different, what that would do. I mean, it's a lot of retreads. These guys all bounce around. It's the same group of guys for the most part.
Do you think the Rams winning the Super Bowl last year and the fact that they made midseason deals, they went out and got OBJ, and they traded a 2nd and 3rd round pick for an 8-game rental in Von Miller. But the Rams beat the Niners for the first time in 4 years on their way to winning a Super Bowl. Do you think that influenced what the Niners just did?
100%. 100%. And I look, I don't think they made this trade if Trey Lance is their quarterback. Because I don't think I don't think they would have been good enough. And I think the way the division has fallen right now, the way the NFC has fallen, I think there's a lot of circumstances that if you're an NFC team right now, I don't think this is the last NFC trade. How can you look at what's out there and say we can't go all in?
Well, also just a modest upgrade in the NFC could take you from struggling to make the playoffs to winning a division, hosting playoff games, making it to at least the division round. I mean, honestly, there's not a lot separating teams here.
So I think this is the beginning of a very lively trade season in the NFL. And oh my goodness, how giddy will Moulton be for the next week if I'm right?
I'll be insufferable Halloween week. With the trading deadline November 1st, and if this is as active as you now think it's going to be.
Well, I mean, the Bears are talking about moving Smith. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are talking about moving players. You got to think if the Lions lose to Dallas, they would be a team that would move players.
Don't you think now if you're Tampa, you're looking around going, well, you know what? I guess we need to start dealing. We'll make our picks on this week's games coming up next. Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
DC, we've talked about it a lot. You need a little bit of luck, good fortune, whatever you want to call it, to win a championship. But it's funny where this anti-Ram sentiment is coming from. They've had 5 straight winning seasons, gone to the playoffs 4 times in those 5 years. They've gone to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. How bad is their blueprint again? I mean, aren't many franchises who can put that up on the board. I mean, the Chiefs can. You know, they've been to 2 Super Bowls.
So I see a tweet here, and I didn't know who this person was. So I had to look it up because John Lovett, who's a political guy, someone retweeted it. Says, if you ever think you can't change your life, just remember Lara Logan went from CBS News to the Jews are drinking blood in Geneva in 5 years. Did you see this? Did you know who this person is? Lara Logan.
Oh, yeah.
She went full QAnon yesterday. She got taken off of Newsmax. Do you know what you have to do to get taken off of Newsmax?
Wow.
She apparently went full QAnon on it.
What did she say?
She went on a full QAnon rant, apparently, and got taken off the air. She got banned by Newsmax. Do you know what you have to do to get banned by Newsmax?
And that's it. You're done.
Wow. That's the person. Yes.
Yes, had the horrible experience reporting in Egypt. Lost her gig, though, because she did a story which was found to have been inaccurate.
20 seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Major news overnight in sports. Carolina Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers for 4 draft picks. 3 of them next year, a second, a third, and a fourth. And then a 5th rounder in 2024 just for the heck of it. So Carolina gets a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 for Christian McCaffrey. Hello. Whose end of the deal do you like best? That's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com. At this moment in time, Mark, today, I voted Carolina. But it's really simple, though. Niners win a Super Bowl. It's San Francisco.
And I pick San Francisco because I always like the team acquiring the talent, especially when they're making a run, think they're making a run. I think it's a huge ad for them. Another weapon. I mean, my goodness. Debo and Kittle. Now McCaffrey. This team, they have the wideout that's pretty damn good as well. So, I mean, love the weapons on this team. Now the D's got to get healthy for him.
You know, the other thing that this should help ensure for Carolina is they're now very much in play to be on the clock, right?
Oh, goodness, yes.
I mean, they're 1-5. How many more games do we think they're going to win? And, you know, Houston's got a win and a tie. So technically, I mean, who's Carolina behind right now? I mean, how many other one-win teams do we have in the league?
The Raiders.
And
The
you'd like to think
Lions.
you'd like to think that the Raiders are going to win a few more.
The Lions, the Washington's a 2-4 team. The Bears are a 2-4 team.
Right, but so one win, we got Carolina, Houston, the Raiders, and the Lions.
And the Lions. And all have played, both the Raiders and Lions had a bye last week. So, yeah, Carolina's on the clock right now.
So, and if you're Carolina, what do you need? You need a franchise quarterback. Well, the thought is there's going to be 2 or 3 of them in this year's draft. So if you're Carolina, you're helping to ensure that. And I think that also played into it as well. By the way, Carolina hosting Tampa Bay Sunday.
Yeah, the line's moved to 13, by the way.
So Christian McCaffrey's worth 2 points because it was 11 when I went to sleep last night. So there you have it.
All right. Well, this is the Moulton game as we get into the NFL slate. I'm doing it in the order that's on the phone. That's why I'm not starting with the Florida team. So just bear with me here. We'll get to them in just a second. But the first game on my list, David, is what I like to call the David Moulton Bowl. Indianapolis at Tennessee.
I can't even believe you're asking me that question. I mean, Colts or Titans in Nashville. By the way, first game after they announced that they're getting a dome stadium.
Right.
So curious what the folks there think of it. They're going to get a Super Bowl now because of it. I mean, that's how it works. You build a new stadium within the first 5 years, the league gives you a Super Bowl. And I don't know. I'll go out on a limb and say they're going to get more than one.
I would say that too, and I would love to do a Super Bowl in Nashville. That would be a lot of fun.
Man, Nashville's already bursting at the seams. My goodness. Now you throw a dome stadium in the events that they could get now because of it. Whew. Titans.
Yeah, I am too. I want to pick the Colts. I just can't.
No, you're abandoning them in their time of need. You could argue this is if Tennessee wins, the South may be over because they'll be 4-2. Colts will be 3-3-1. They'd be a game and a half up on them in the standings and have the tiebreaker because they will have swept them.
You know what, David? You're right. Give me Indianapolis. I can't abandon my team.
Right. I mean, not for one more. Come on, 3 more days. That's all you have to do is stay with them for 3 more days.
I know you're taking the Jags over the Giants because you've been saying it since Monday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just, don't get me wrong. I'm doing the happy dance on the inside. All right. You know, Fossey, Martha Graham, keep it all on the inside. My Giants are 5-1. I'm thrilled. I don't think they're any good. Give me Jacksonville.
The thing is, I know Jacksonville's not any good.
The Giants 6-1. I don't know. It's the NFL.
I'm going to take the Giants because they figured out ways to win every week, and the Jags figure out ways to lose. That's the problem right there. Jacksonville should have a much better record than they have right now. They have found ways to blow games. Hopefully they don't do it, but I'm going to take the Giants. I'm guessing we're both taking Tampa. They're merely a 13-point favorite. I guess my question would be, do you think they'll cover?
Without McCaffrey now, probably. Although they're kicking a lot of field goals, they need to solve their red zone dilemma if they're going to cover.
Yeah, I think the Bucs score 30+ this week.
Okay.
I think they win. I think they cover. Tom Brady laughing off the retirement question, all of the pressure that's coming at him. He had to apologize for making the comparison to the military. I think Brady has a monster game, and the Bucs win going away. Packers and Washington. The Commanders are only a 4.5-point dog against the Green Bay Packers at home.
Rodgers didn't practice one day this week because of a thumb injury. They've lost 2 in a row. I don't see them losing 3.
Me either. I will take Green Bay. Lions and Cowboys. Cowboys are a 7-point favorite. Dak is back.
And Lions coming off a bye. Give me Dallas.
I'm taking Detroit in the upset.
Whoa, look at you.
I'm taking Detroit in the upset. With Dak back, and it'll just put Cowboys fans into a tizzy because he's going to throw 2 interceptions and the Lions are going to win. Bengals host Atlanta. Cincinnati's a 6.5-point favorite.
I like the Bengals.
Not only like the Bengals, I like the Bengals getting right at the moment.
And the Bengals are defensively giving up like 18 points a game. It's being overlooked. They've lost a couple close games. Bengals could go on a run here.
Baltimore is hosting Cleveland. The Ravens have been just giving football games away. I think they right the ship against Cleveland at home.
I do as well, although their run defense will be tested.
Broncos and Jets. The Broncos it's basically a pick 'em. I've got it as they're a half-point favorite right now. The over-under's 38.5 for this game. 20-19 is your final. Who wins it, the Broncos or the Jets?
Well, Mark, I'm going to use your logic. You picked the Giants over the Jags because the Giants are finding ways to win and the Jags are finding ways to lose. Well, between these two teams, who's finding ways to win and who's finding ways to lose? I'll take the Jets.
I will too. The Jets defense has been playing great. Their special teams have been playing great, and the Broncos offense is miserable.
Normally, I take the Monday night loser. All right, so I'm going against my trend, but I also think that the mix is broken in Denver. I think they got a locker room problem.
Houston is at the Raiders. Raiders coming off a bye are a 7-point favorite, David.
That could be the backup the truck bet of the week.
The Texans?
Right.
Seattle is at the Chargers. Chargers are a 5.5-point favorite at home.
Give me Seattle. The Chargers are very banged up. This is their last game before the bye. Can they make it to the bye at 5-2? I say no. This is my upset special of the week. Give me Seattle.
Mine was Detroit. I'll take the Chargers in this game. I think this game pegged to be a little higher scoring than most on the board this week by Vegas. 50.5 is your over-under. Chiefs at the Niners. The Niners are a 2-point dog at home against Kansas City.
That went down a half a point after the McCaffrey trade. It was either 3 or 2.5 a few hours ago, now down to 2. Give me the Chiefs. They rarely lose 2 in a row, and I don't see how McCaffrey even plays, never mind makes much of an impact.
And Sunday night, Pittsburgh is at Miami. Tua is back. The Dolphins a 7-point favorite. It is a big game for Miami. I wouldn't call it a must-win, but I certainly think it's a big game to right the ship, and I think the Dolphins get it done. Pittsburgh is a mess right now. A great win for the Steelers last week, but I don't see Pittsburgh winning 2 in a row.
Steelers just don't score a ton of points, and I'd like to think that Miami is going to get into the low 20s, and that should be enough to beat the Steelers.
So that is the NFL slate. Monday night, the Bears and Patriots. We will talk about that, obviously, on Monday, but that runs you through the games this week.
So your upset special is the Lions in Dallas.
Coming off the bye. It's perfect timing. Dallas thinks a lot of themselves. They've got Dak coming back. A lot of Cowboys talk. This is the perfect time to deflate that balloon and get Jarrett talking about a quarterback controversy, trading players, or whatever else he needs to talk about on Monday.
Boy, that would just send Cowboys fans off the edge if they were to lose with Dak to the Lions at home. I don't know. I mean, don't you think Goff with that defense that he throws a pick, maybe even a pick 6?
I think he throws a pick, but I just told you, I think Dak's going to throw 2 because they're going to throw the ball. If Dak's under center and they just hand the ball off and play Cooper Rush football, then they can win this game 17-10.
Will be interesting to see Kellen Moore's play calling now that he has Dak. They're very pass happy in the last couple of years. And I would like to think that everybody's been paying attention to their style of play. You know, pound the rock with the 2 running backs. How did they get back in the game against the Eagles down 20-0? Pounding the rock. Run the ball. But you're right, Mark. It'll be very tempting against that defense. They're going to see that defense and think, oh, man, I can light these guys up.
Everybody else has.
Yep.
And Detroit should be healthy coming off the bye. The good receiver there should be back. The running back, Swift, should be healthy. So it's just a hunch.
Anybody buying my Jacksonville pick? No, they're favored, That
Yeah.
surprised me yesterday. I thought the Giants would be favored. I mean, think about that. A 5-1 team faces a 2-4 team, and the 2-4 team's a 3-point favorite.
You're not really going on a big limb there. You're taking the favorite.
Right.
That's
even
crazy.
though I'm catching a lot of grief, people, how could you pick the Giants, against the Giants against the Jags? Well, we'll say there'll be 30,000 Giants fans in Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It'll sound a lot like the Florida-Georgia game. Half the stadium cheering on every play.
Miller and Moulton, we will switch gears and talk some gambling with Lee Sterling next. His picks on the other side, and then, well, David will make his picks, and my daughter goes for her second consecutive winning week at 7:38. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Klecko, I don't care if Dusty's manager of the year, but it'd be awesome if he could win the World Series. An absolute baseball lifer who's been screwed a couple times. And the other thing it would do is it would get him in the Hall of Fame, and he should be there.
Seconds. $15. All right, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the 7 o'clock hour on a Friday means Lee Sterling. Paramount Sports, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741. On a bit of a heater this year for his clients. Went 4-1 on this show last week. Hit his 2 45-unit plays for his clients last week. Listen, you shouldn't be on this show because the two of us, we can't pick. I don't think we've picked that many winners all year combined. So welcome.
Morning.
Yeah, Lee, I want to ask you because your 45-unit plays last week were Air Force, and
Right.
I wrote Air Force a little bit earlier this year, knew enough about them, going, okay, I like that spot. But your other 45-unit play was the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as a handicapper, when you do your numbers, you do your calculations, and you see a small line, it's the biggest game of the week, one of the biggest games of the year, and you've put all your weight on one side. Is it more nerve-wracking, less nerve-wracking, the same as the Air Force game to you? How is it when those numbers come up on a big game like that?
Well, the Air Force game was played out as perfectly as ever I could have imagined. I mean, they jumped out to a 28-0 lead the first drive of the second quarter. So I didn't have to sweat that one out. But I had like 6-7 friends over and family watching the Buffalo game, and that was a sweat job. I just felt they were the much better team, and unless they turned the ball over, or in the case of the game, they went for it a couple times on fourth down. I felt that they were going to win the game, and hopefully they won it by 3 or more. I mean, it could have worked out where they won by 1 or 2 or they lost by 3 or 4, but just felt that they were preparing with a sense of urgency to win that game. The craziest thing I'm watching, I mean, here's the reasoning behind the Air Force game. I don't think I gave it to you in the text with the game. So when I saw the line came out, it was 8.5. And then I heard quickly the UNLV quarterback, Doug Brumfeld, who's actually pretty talented, left-handed, 6'5" kid, was not going to play, and their top receiver. And I'm like, wow, this is a great spot. And then I remembered that Air Force last year ran for 515 yards on them, didn't even have to attempt to pass. And I also like the spot with them coming off of a loss. So I thought Air Force was going to be a team might go undefeated. Somehow they lost 2 games. They lost all their flankers and all their slot guys, like top 2 guys. So they don't have that dynamic capability. They had a really good guy in Micah Davis that transferred before the year. So that's the story behind that game.
All right, let's get to this week's games. We'll start in the ACC with back-to-back picks. Clemson in a battle of unbeatens, just under 2 full touchdowns, 13 and a half, hosting unbeaten Syracuse.
2 very much improved teams. Clemson, their offensive line, horrible last year, much better. They're competitive. And quarterback DJ Ugalele has been really good this year. Syracuse, I think people thought they were going to be an also-ran, but they're well coached. Jared Schrader, quarterback, used to be at Mississippi State, couldn't throw it all before. 12 touchdown passes this year. He really worked on it. And a name here in South Florida, Rondé Gadsden, his son, Rondé Gadsden II, 31 catches, 5 touchdowns. He's 6'5", 215, really good in the red zone. Their defense has improved to number 8 in the country here. I think Clemson wins 30-23, but I think this is going to be a close game.
So Syracuse and the points, Miami and Duke. Miami is a 9-point favorite.
Duke is more talented than I think people realize when the year started. Riley Leonard, really talented kid at quarterback running. He has an extra gear when he takes off. And I think that's going to hurt Miami. They have a true freshman running back, number 23. This kid has another gear, a returning receiver who caught 58 balls this year, probably on par to catch 80, 90 catches. So they can make some things happen. They were 1 play away from beating North Carolina last week. Just couldn't come up with that one player, that one stop on like multiple 3rd and longs and couldn't stop North Carolina. Miami's got problems. I mean, they move up and down the 20s, but just can't put it in the end zone. The yardages just don't correlate to what they're scoring. I think Miami wins 30-27. I'll take the 9.5 now. Way too many points.
Well, and the Canes are not a covering machine. In fact, if you've gone the other way, I think against the spread on the Canes, you're 5-1.
How about this, David? The only Division I team against Division I teams has not covered a game this year. Kind of tells you the story, how they've underperformed.
All right, let's get to Sundays. Chiefs, the line is slowly going down, and after the McCaffrey trade, for what it's worth, they're just a 2-point favorite of the Chiefs over the Niners.
The Chiefs, I mean, their defense much improved. They held Buffalo to 24 points. And here's the problem for San Francisco. Offensive line, defensive line, and defensive backfield decimated by injuries. And with no Bosa on defensive line and a couple other key guys, you don't have a 7-8 man rotation to rush the passer. I think Kansas City's the right side there. I think they win this game here by 2 touchdowns, 38-24.
Tampa Bay now gets Carolina with no McCaffrey, backup quarterback. It's the numbers moved from 11.5 to 13 because of the McCaffrey trade. How do you see it?
I think Tampa Bay is going to be ready for this game. I think they're going to put away Carolina early. This is, hint, hint, one of my client plays. Also, you talk about the coaching staffs. All those guys are looking for jobs. They know that they're done. They're just going through the motions there. PJ Walker, not the answer. They couldn't even get first downs last week. It was bad watching that. I like Tampa Bay big, 45-7.
Sunday nighter, the Dolphins, Tua back, healthy. So are they the 3-0 team that they were? They got to cover 7 against the Steelers team, who's still tough defensively.
They are. Both teams, in a way, mirror images of each other. In fact, really weak offensive lines, maybe 2 of the 3 worst offensive lines. I mean, we talk about lookout blocks where guys just totally miss guys. Both teams happens over and over. Both teams really need to address it in the offseason. And then defensive backfield injuries. Pittsburgh has a couple corners, couple safeties. Miami at the cornerback position decimated, except for Xavier Howard here. But I think Tua, as long as he stays healthy, is going to get the ball to his playmakers, and that might be the difference. Let's go with Miami here. I think they win this game 27-17.
Your game of the week is Denver and the Jets, who just keep finding ways to win. It's a 1-point spread. How do they get it, Lee?
My daughter's boyfriend, big Jets fan, keeps sending me gifts every time they win a game. This might be one of the first times we've ever done, but we talked about Jacksonville.
Right.
Might be first time in 8-10 years that I've given out a Jets game. I think it's the first time that they're 3-0 or 4-0 on the road since 2010. Saw that stat. Should be a great game against Denver. Big game for both teams. You want to get the game, call 800-400-9741. We'll give you the game for free. A couple different options. You want to get involved. We have the Baker's Dozen. 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, just $97. As soon as you purchase it, window pops open, all 13 games. Or how about this? We have not had a losing Sunday. We have what's called the 5 for 55. You just want to play the NFL? 5 games, $55. Worst week we've had is 3-2, and both of those 3-2 weeks could have been 4-1 or 5-0. So feel strong about both of them. You want to check everything out, including hockey, NBA basketball, baseball playoffs, and a UFC card on Saturday morning. UFC card is 7 selections. It's a promo item, just $17. ParamountSports.com.
800-400-9741, ParamountSports.com. You can follow Lee on Twitter at Paramount Sports. He's taken the points in college with Syracuse and Duke. He's laying the points on Sunday with the Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Finns. Lee, have a great weekend. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
His game of the week again, Broncos-Jets. Jets are now a 1-point favorite in that game. Money keeps coming in on the Jets, Jets.
Moulton will make his picks on the other side. My daughter made hers last night. We double-checked him. See if she can keep on keeping on after a 3-2 week. Moulton looking for that big winning week again. That's next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Ay, ay, ay. That scared the crap out of me. Nothing like emails from your bank to scare the hell out of you. Oh, going through emails during that break, and I got an email from the bank about an address change. I'm freaking out, and I looked, and it was Jake's account. Like, oh, Jesus.
He
15
moved?
seconds.
A couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Probably took him this long to change it.
Here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Pat Kirwan joins us at the top of the hour. Chris Landry, 1 hour from now. And we understand that those of you listening on our affiliates in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, that you don't get our bonus hour, but at the top of our bonus hour, if you want to listen on an app or online or what have you, Bob Pockrass, live from Homestead, 3 races left in the NASCAR season. Could the watermelon farmer from Florida, Ross Chastain, take home the title? He's in position. He's got a good shot. We'll talk to Bob Pockrass about Ross Chastain and NASCAR Homestead a little more than an hour from now.
Well, David, it's that time where we do our picks.
Uh-huh.
This is the time where the audience either turns the station or goes the other way.
Uh-huh.
But I have had a resurgence because I have quit making picks.
Right.
My 8-year-old daughter has taken over this segment for me. And last night with school, soccer practice, a late dinner, we went to tuck our daughter in bed like my wife and I do every night and give her a kiss goodnight and all that stuff. Looked at my wife. I said, give her a kiss and get out. We got stuff to do. She looked at me. I said, give her a kiss and get out. And as my wife walks out, I said, all right, honey. Clemson's laying 13.5 to Syracuse. What do you think? And my daughter made a mistake last week, and she admitted it. She said she probably should have taken Clemson instead of Florida State, but she took the home team, and it was regrettable. She's not going to make that mistake. The defensive line of Clemson is going to be too much for Syracuse. She doesn't know how Syracuse scores. We've got Clemson laying the 13.5.
I'm just curious, did she sit up in bed and do this, or did she just do this lying down? Is this now she had done so much homework throughout the course of the week, she could just lay there in bed, head on the pillow, and just rattle this stuff off?
Well, once we got the wife out, we went to the studio. She had computer printouts ready for me. Graphs. Paragraph on each one describing what it was, and we went from there. All right, Ole Miss and LSU. She's taking Ole Miss plus the 2. Doesn't know how they're the underdog in this game. They are undefeated after all. LSU playing better. We're taking Ole Miss and the 2 points.
I'll even give her a hook. I'm seeing 2.5.
Who doesn't want a hook? Texas and Oklahoma State. You know, she doesn't care who's playing quarterback for Texas. She's just a fan of Texas quarterbacks now. Whether it's Quinn Ewers next year, whether it's Arch, it doesn't matter who it is. But it's 6.5. Texas is going to beat Oklahoma State by a touchdown. Give me Texas laying the 6.5.
Well, I will say, if you can find it at 6.5, take it, because it's been 7 most of the week. So that half a point's a big half a point.
And I had 2 games at 6.5, but I'll get to the one in the middle here. This one scares me. I have to be honest. I didn't like it, but I'm not arguing with her anymore because she went 3-2 last week, and I haven't had a winning week this year. She's taking Mississippi State in the points. I think Alabama will play much better, but 21's the number. Even Bud Elliott on our show said if you get it at 21.5, 22, take it. We've got it at 21. We'll take Mississippi State in 21. And finally, in the Chip Kelly Bowl, Oregon wins and covers, laying the 6.5 against UCLA.
No NFL, huh?
2 weeks. She went all college. She said, I like Saturdays more than Sundays, Dad. The pageantry, the bands, the cheerleaders.
Okay. I understand. Pageantry. She's 8. Well, we're going to go head-to-head on a game. So, obviously,
standing.
Bet your money on the 8-year-old. I'm taking LSU and laying the 2.5. Ole Miss's defense scares the heck out of me. They made Auburn look like a good team for 3 quarters last week. That's really tough to do. They gave up 5 touchdowns to a third-string quarterback. Their defense concerns me. Ole Miss, now's the tough part of their schedule. I mean, I don't know how many games are even going to be favored in the rest of the way. It'll be interesting if they can even get to the Alabama showdown in 3 weeks in which they could say be tied. Like, can they split their next 2 games, be tied with Alabama in theory when they host them so that they're playing for first in the West? I would like for somebody to explain to me why the Penn State line is so small. I understand Penn State just got whacked by Michigan. Minnesota is not Michigan. The game is in State College. Penn State's only favored by 4.5. Minnesota just got beat by 2 touchdowns by Illinois on the road. Yet I'm to believe they're going to go into Penn State and lose by less than 5. Give me Penn State and lay the 4.5. Vegas probably knows something I don't, but this one just seems out of whack to me. Mark, Liberty's lost once. It was by 1 point to Wake Forest. Now, I will say, outside of the Wake Forest game, they've scheduled as soft as humanly possible.
And not played that great in those games either.
But against the good teams on their schedule, they've actually played really well.
Agreed.
BYU's coming to town. BYU has underperformed this year. Now, they've played a tough schedule, and I think the schedule has gotten to them. But after all, BYU lost to Notre Dame. I mean, Marshall beat Notre Dame. Give me Liberty at home and 7 against BYU. I think this is going to be a very good game. I feel good with the points. BYU could win, but by more than 7, I don't see it. I think Liberty can score. All right, to Sundays we go. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I'm betting against the Giants. Worst 5-1 team in the history of the league. Give me the Jags laying the 3. Give me the Chiefs. Lee Sterling and I are on the same page with this one. San Francisco. So you have a ton of injuries on defense and you're facing Mahomes coming off a loss? Yeah, I don't like this at all. Give me the Chiefs, 2, 2.5, whatever it is. And, okay, we have the Titans against the Colts. And if you have listened to me for any period of time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, this is 6. That's right. This is 6.
Just checking.
Mark, I'm 15 games below 500 in mid-October. All right. 15 games. The only way you can get back to 500 is making a lot of picks. Okay. It's also the way that you can lose everything. So it's one or the other, baby. It's get back to the Mendoza line or it's finished 30 or 40 below 500. One or the other. The 6th pick is the Titans. Why? Because they're the Titans and the other team is the Colts. And nothing else has really needed to be said for the last 6 years. And the line's less than 3. So there.
So there's the sneaky 6 from Moulton, the fantastic 5 from my daughter, and Lee's picks were the segment prior. So Moulton going with LSU over Ole Miss, laying the 2. Penn State laying the 4.5 against Minnesota. Liberty +7 against BYU. The Jags -3 against the Giants. Kansas City -2 against the Niners. And the Titans -2, 2.5 against the Colts. I took Clemson laying the 13. David and I are going head to head. I have Ole Miss plus the 2.5. I've got Texas laying 6.5 against Oklahoma State. Mississippi State getting the 21 against the Crimson Tide, and Oregon laying 6.5 against UCLA.
And that Mississippi State bet, that's also one of those in which if you played it earlier in the week, it was above 21. It was in the 22 range. That could be a key point after all.
100%. Would have loved 21 in a hook, David. I'm with you.
So there you have it. Those are our picks this week. And obviously, you know, it's me against the 8-year-old, and I got beat last week, and we're going head to head on a game. And she likes Ole Miss, and I like LSU. So make your bets accordingly. There you have it. And I know what accordingly means. It means you're all going to take Ole Miss. And that's okay. I would too, to be honest with you. I would too.
Whether or not Maddie took Ole Miss, they would have been taking Ole Miss. It's just the way you have to go right now, David.
You really do. I mean, I suck.
I give you credit. You've owned it. I gave up. I just said, hey, let's sit down with the 8-year-old, let her pick 5 college games.
I do like the fact you called it the sneaky 6, because you could have called it the sucky 6. So I appreciate the fact that you're still, it's not yet November. You're giving me a chance to dig out from this. 15 below 500. That's really tough to do. That's Houston Texans, Carolina Panthers-esque. I mean, let's face it. If I were a franchise, I'd be trading Christian McCaffrey for a bunch of draft picks.
That's our poll question today. Who won that trade? Carolina or San Francisco? Right now, early voting has the Niners slightly ahead of Carolina, 54-46% in a close vote. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FloridaSportsNetwork.com to vote on today's poll question.
I will say McCaffrey's cap hit next year, just under 20. His cap hit in 24, just under 20. His cap hit in 25, 15.5. I do think this needs to be figured into the equation when you're talking about who's winning the trade. Now, the cap's supposed to balloon here beginning next year. Maybe this isn't as damaging. And Mark, Jimmy G, in theory, goes off the books beginning next year, and they still have Trey Lance on a rookie deal. So maybe the big money makers on the team are Bosa, Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, and for a couple of years, their quarterback's making $2 million.
Till you get to the option year for Lance, you're going to have pretty economical quarterback play, so you could get away with it. And to your point, we've been talking about this for a while, that the cap should balloon.
Yeah. Go up 30, 40 million type balloon. Like next year, I think it's 208 and change. This year, 240. In next year is what a lot of people are anticipating, 239, 240. And by 2024, you could have a $275 million cap. So think about that. 65 plus million in 18 months, the cap going up. That's significant.
But this week, can't expect a lot out of McCaffrey, and they obviously taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And to your point, Mahomes losing 2 in a row and playing that defense. I do, of your picks, I'm love the Kansas City pick.
At least Sterling's on my side with that one. So, listen, I can get beat by an 8-year-old. I can get beat by a pro. I mean, either way. I am just there for the taking right now. 1 winning week so far this year. That's right, 1.
And it's not just the 1 winning weeks. You've had a lot of the 1 ends.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had an 07 and 1 week. 07 and 1. I mean, for goodness sakes. I mean, the Carolina Panthers are going, hey, don't lump us in with you. I mean, you're at a totally different level of sucking than we are. Okay, the Houston Texans are even going, dude, don't lump us with you. Besides, we finally got rid of the Jack Easterby guy. We're going to turn things around here. Got rid of the nut job at quarterback. Now we got rid of the nut job running the organization. Give us a couple years here. I mean, Lovie Smith won't be around to see when we're good again, but we can turn this sucker around.
No, he's just there to have somebody there that's slightly competent run the team for a year while we try to figure out what the hell it is we're going to do.
Right. We get the coach we really want to get. Get our hands on a quarterback. Maybe we call Sean Payton. Who knows?
Boy, you beat me to it with where you're going to be drafting.
And also, I mean, you're in the AFC South. I mean, that could be appealing to someone. Not right now, mind you, but give it a year or two. Sneaky 6. I like that. I've been bringing my picks with me on the road. When the show's over, I take this paper, I fold it, and I pack it in my bag. It's been very depressing. Usually by the time I get to, where I'm going. I'm especially on Sunday, and I open it up, and I'm already like 1-3.
I do the same thing every week. Once this segment's over, I fold it and I put it in my backpack, and it stays in the car until Monday. I usually have a pretty good idea. I have a pretty good memory of what the picks are. But there have been times that I've made the walk out to the car on Sunday morning going, especially when I'm looking at a line going, where exactly did Moulton have that? Like the Ole Miss, or like your Auburn game with Ole Miss. That was 15.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ole Miss won by 14. Miami was like my back up the truck pick of the week, -7. Right. They give up a late score to win by 6. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how this year's gone for you.
No doubt about it.
It really has. If it can go wrong, it has gone wrong.
You know who I am? I'm the Yankees last night. Judge's home run to right center, the win. Second game all year, they opened the roof in Houston. Win came from right to left. Judge hits a ball in the 8th inning, would have been out of the park. If the roof was closed, they catch it at the wall. Meanwhile, the Astros 3-run homer in the 3rd inning, Win aided. Only reason it cleared the fence was because the wind blew it out of the park.
We are aided by Pat Kirwan twice a week. He is next right here on Miller and Moulton.
Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, fellas. That was classic. Listening to David beat himself into a pulp over his picks.
Oh, it's funny because he knows his stuff, but this has been a year where you'd be better off flipping a coin.
Yeah, you know what? If you use normal logic to arrive at the team you think should win, you've had a very disappointing season. But David, that was the all-time I want to be the GM of the Houston Texans more than anything else in this world.
Well, I'm at rock bottom, and so are they. So I think the two of us deserve each other.
Yeah, you were all over Easterby. I'm so glad that bum is gone.
Yep.
Well, you that was classic. You know, Mark lets you bury yourself. Like, he doesn't try to pull you out of the hole and take the dirt off. Yeah, he just here's a shovel, Dave. You can get buried faster.
It's too good. It's too good.
Now, Pat, Mark knows by now that basically I do the show in quicksand, and so there's really no helping me.
Well, I think it's been your MO since I met you. You like doing that to yourself, but I never knew Mark until witnessing this live here that he just loves that you do it. He throws an occasional bone to keep you going. Like, yeah, I left my picks in my back pocket, and then I go out to the car on Sunday. Just enough for you to keep going.
And then I realized, oh, wow, Moulton lost that one. Moulton lost that one. Moulton lost that one.
Well, I came to work, and I didn't look this weekend, Pat. I really thought he was 3-2 because I forgot to check Miami score. With the last time I looked, they were up big, and I just didn't check it Saturday morning. I knew they won. And I'm like, oh, crap, that's right. There was a late touchdown in that game. In the Ole Miss game, I didn't know what the number was. I knew he was close, and I'm like, was that 13 or was it 15? And then I look, and damned if it wasn't 15. I went, oh.
No, I've had the same kind of year. I've been ahead of Jimmy on last week 3 games late into the fourth quarter and lost all 3. But I did have Arizona last night, so for the first time in a few weeks, I'm ahead of them going into Sunday. Ba-dum-ba-bum-bum.
I had to laugh yesterday. I caught a little bit of your show driving to soccer practice, and you were talking about what's his face from the Jets wanting the trade. That's when you met with Elijah Moore.
Yeah,
you you went through how you would undress him, and then you finished it by saying, "Well, I wouldn't be that mean in person," and I almost drove off the curb because I thought that line was an utter lie. I think you'd have spelled it out just the way you did.
I couldn't wait to have him come in the office and tell him, "You're not going anywhere. In fact, you're not even going to play. You're just staying here. On the road, you're going to room with Denzel
Mims." Exactly.
Yeah, you and Mims can whine to each other.
We got 30 seconds.
This is a contract, and I own it. And that's your signature. You go back to your room.
And it sounds like that's what the Jets did.
They're not going to ignore. First off, the agents are telling you got a week to go till the trading deadline. Start squawking.
Yep, totally.
10 seconds.
All right, here we go, guys.
I give them a lot of credit. It doesn't work with the Jets. You can squawk all you want.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. Now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour on a Friday, and that means Pat Kirwan from NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West with a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And I think before we came on the air, we were all lamenting the inability to pick accurately during the 2022 season. And maybe that's what the NFL, I mean, that might be the greatest part of the NFL. It's really hard anymore to see what's going on.
It's always been a league of parity. I mean, that's how the league has really been. But this year, the one thing that's happened in the last 4 or 5 years, Pat, is that home field advantage is no longer even relevant in the National Football League, is it?
No, it's not. And a lot of players, when I have them on, I ask them about it, and they go, there's a lot of interesting takes. They like the concept of going into a stadium booing them. They feel like they're tighter as a group, ironically. They like being on the road and away from getting tickets for all family members. And one guy said to me, he goes, the only time I get any rest is in the hotel on the road. And teams like Seattle, they're not alone anymore, but they were way ahead of everybody, going out 2 days before the game and getting, like Pete likes to fly on Fridays and get him in the hotel. And he goes, then we really, by Sunday morning, we're ready to go. But that whole Saturday with the team in the hotel. So I think a lot of guys have looked at how to handle the road better. And I think the results are that just what you said, Mark, home field's kind of hurting around the league.
Pat, this is a theory I've had. And Mark, I'm going to use, a hockey analogy. We see it many times in hockey. Teams go on the road. They play a very simple, disciplined game. They come home. They start throwing the puck all around. They're trying to make the fancy play, score goals, and what have you. And Pat, I believe that coaches coach a little more conservatively, a little more simply on the road. And at home, everybody's trying to show off a little bit, especially offensively.
I agree with you. And I think I'll add one of the reasons why. I think when they go out on the road, they know it's going to be loud. They know they're going to have a hard time communicating on offense, and they minimize the package. Because if you try to put 100 things into the game plan and you're out there and your players can't hear, you almost become your own worst enemy. So my experience on the road has been keep it simple.
All right. Trader David was at it last night. McCaffrey to the Niners, 4 draft picks, a 2, 3, and a 4 next year, a 5 and 24. And the Niners have to pick up his full cap hit. Next year, it's nearly 20. 24, it's nearly 20. 25, it's 15 and change. Your thoughts on the complex deal?
Well, he's got length on the deal, so you have lots of time to work on the deal. His dad, they're from out there, so he's going home in a lot of ways. I know it's Colorado, but he has some ties out there. So I think he'll work with them. The only thing with him is can he stay healthy? If he's healthy, he's a very productive player. And as time goes on, I want him to be a slot guy more than a running back. But if I'm San Francisco, the NFC is so shaky. This puts them right into the battle zone, and it gives them probably a very good chance to win the division. So all of that's worth it. Figure out the deal later.
All right. Well, the Rams go get Von Miller last year. They win a Super Bowl. McCaffrey to San Francisco. We're seeing more in-season trades. Do you think the McCaffrey trade, the Von Miller trade last year, means that between now and the trade deadline, it's going to be the most active it's ever been in league history?
What happens to that, Mark, is the compensation package that just went in this deal maybe becomes a standard that makes deals not happen in a lot of ways. It's pretty rich. And consequently, when I hear certain people telling me, oh, they want a first for this guy or a second, then I go, that can curtail some of the deals that might have happened because the club will be like, oh, we can't do it now for less than. That was the old expression. Oh, I can't do it for less than. Well, a week ago you did, but the McCaffrey deal kind of makes the GM nervous about doing a deal and giving a guy away.
Isn't the compensatory pick value essentially what teams have to beat? Like a Mike Gesicki, for example, who reportedly is still available. But the Dolphins have to believe if they hold on to Gesicki and then lose him in free agency, that they'll get what, a 4th? Okay, so that when teams are calling them, like if Tampa calls them and says, hey, what do you want for Gesicki? They go, well, you got to give us at least a 3rd because we can hold on to him and get a 4th.
Right. I think you're onto one of the logics of how compensation works. After Baltimore became the experts at doing it, a lot of guys started figuring it out. Man, why didn't we do that? So yeah, you're right. And there's lots of reasons to do it that way. And by the way, this Gesicki thing, it drives me crazy as to what's the logic to move him.
We don't understand it. I think it's because they've decided they're not going to sign him after this year. They had to tag him this year, 10.9. And so since they're not going to keep him, and should we get something of value while we still have him? But like Tampa Bay, for instance, they clearly need a tight end, but they don't have a 4th-round pick. And if we deem the value of Gesicki as a 4th-round pick, then the Bucs, if Jason Licht calls the Dolphins, he's got to surrender that 3rd-round pick, doesn't he?
Well, you can always combine players with other compensation. But let's go back to the Dolphins. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and the whole world thinks it's because Tua is hurt. Maybe, but that defense at times is shaky. I don't think, and if you think you're going to make a playoff run, Miami, all hands on deck. And this head coach comes from a place that had Kittle. So this idea that this guy doesn't fit, what are you talking about? Tight end's been a huge piece in San Francisco. And I saw Gesicki doing a dance in the end zone the other day. So, in time, he could be a factor. I would never give him up now. And the compensatory pick will be fine down the road.
All right. Let's get to some of the games, Pat.
Yeah.
David and I each have a pretty large upset. David has Seattle beating the Chargers. I have Detroit beating Dallas. Do you like either upset?
I'm inclined to like the Seattle one more, not because I'm friends with the head coach, but they had 6 sacks last week, and he's pretty excited, just talking to Pete this week, about the pass rush. And really, when you play those guys, it's about getting to that quarterback. So I do like that one a little bit, but I don't like the Detroit-Dallas one.
Pat, Geno Smith, we don't see this very often in the league, where a guy is a high draft pick. He was a 2nd-rounder. He's a starter. It doesn't work out. And then 6-7 years later, he gets a shot to be a starter again. And he's even better than what the team who drafted him thought he would be. I mean, this is a little Rich Gannon-esque here, where 8 years down the road, Gannon resurfaces with the Raiders, and he's NFL MVP. And it's like, where the heck was this ever with Rich Gannon? I mean, Geno Smith is playing really well. I mean, is he going to give other guys who have been backups for 5-6 years a life?
Well, I would hope so, number one. Number two, Geno could always throw the ball. Geno's problems were maturity, and he recognizes that. And then Pete has him for multiple years. So he watched the guy kind of grow up and develop himself from the neck up as a person and a guy that became aware of what it takes to be prepared on Sunday. The natural talent was always there, but he was a kid under center that I don't even know if he knew the game plan. But now under Pete and growing up, and I sat down with Geno this year and I said, what's the number one thing that caused this? And he said, growing up. And that's the truth with him. So if you find an immature guy, so maybe down the road, David, this fits your profile. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, Trubisky's that guy. He's got a big arm. He's an athlete. He's bounced around. And I know in Chicago, he had a hard time being a preparer. So, maybe there are guys like that.
Which New York team do you think has enough to be hanging around later in the season? I mean, they are both over their skis a little bit right now, but they're winning games and they're doing it in a lot of different ways. Which New York team do you have more faith in, Pat?
Well,
or neither.
No, I do. First off, the Jet defense can keep you alive with that running game. They can run the ball. They can play defense. The quarterback's not ready. In the case of the Giants, Wink Martindale's doing it with mirrors, but he's doing it. And I would think their quarterback, Daniel Jones, is ahead of where Wilson is. So I would think that the Giants, and I don't like the NFC as much as I like the AFC. So I think the Giants can hang around in this thing and maybe get to 9 wins. They're going to stumble and fall some, but I don't think they're not going to be able to sustain this all the time. David already thought on Tuesday that Jacksonville's going to beat the Giants.
They are. They are.
Those picks, Mark. You hear it? That's what happens when you start thinking like that.
Well, it's funny. Both the Giants and Jets are finding ways to win games. They're playing teams who are finding ways to lose games in Jacksonville and Denver. So just those two games, we got maybe a minute. Okay, who you picking in those two games?
Well, we don't know who's the quarterback for Denver right now. There's multiple injuries on Russell Wilson. If it's going to be not Russell Wilson, I'm taking the Jets. And the Jets like the road. They've come to enjoy this. I like them to win, and I like the Giants to win. I think we're still talking. Nobody's happy. Well, you're the happiest guy I ever met, but Boomer Esiason is the happiest guy doing Monday morning radio in New York when the Jets and Giants both win. And he's never experienced it 3 times in 1 year, and he's already working on the 4th.
You and I have been doing this a long time together, David. We've never experienced the Jets and Giants both being good at the same time.
Hell, we're just trying to have the Bucs and the Dolphins be good at the same time.
Well, the Bucs will be fine. The Dolphins, we're going to find out if Tua is the reason for the 3-game losing streak real quick here.
And find out just how much of it is that offensive line that has not been playing very well and has been banged up pretty heavily and still is as we head into Sunday night's game against Pittsburgh. He is Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, Moving the Chain, CBS Sports, the NFL Today Show. And Pat joins us every week, twice a week, courtesy of the good folks at Pinchers, with more than a dozen locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. More with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. We thank you for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Mark.
Yep.
While I'm talking to you guys on my other computer, I'm watching hockey from South Carolina with Brady. I mean, they don't even go to school, these kids. He's playing the Honey Baked or something.
Yeah, out of Detroit.
Yeah, they're playing them right now in South Carolina, 8:00 in the morning on a Friday.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How old is he?
13.
13?
Yeah. They had a game last night against LA Kings. Now they're playing the Honey Bake, and they got another game this afternoon and 2 tomorrow and 1 Sunday.
So is he going to play? Is he leaning towards trying to play some sort of junior hockey before college? I mean, if he's playing at that level, he's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the good news there, yes, I think all the college. Well, he's young, but he's just in 8th grade. But the college guys have all. I've met a bunch of them at some of these events, and we just talk about recruiting, football, and hockey. But it's you got to go play junior for a year. That's what's the reality. No one's coming out of high school. But here's the good news: the team he plays for, the New Jersey Titans, their big division team, Mark, won the national championship last year. In that, there's 2 junior leagues.
Right.
The second one is the NHN something.
Mm-hmm.
The A is the top one, but the N is the second one, and it's grown pretty fast. But they won the national championship. He won't even have to leave home.
Well, if he's good enough, he can. I don't know if his parents, like, my neighbor, a friend of mine played for the Blades. His kid's now signed at Western Michigan. He went to Sioux City and played in the USHL.
Yes, Ryan's kid played in Sioux City, and so did Seamus.
Yep. That's the premier junior league.
Right. And so my daughter is not real happy about that, though, but she knows he's only 13. When he's 18, she might see it different.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's going to go wherever gives him the best chance to get to the best college.
I'll have to, when it gets closer, we'll have to talk more because I do know a couple GMs in that league.
Good.
That way, if you can help him get, if you can get him in the right spot, then the family he's going to be with, and it changes the whole game.
Yep, that will be the whole thing. And when that time comes, if it comes, that'll be great. His best friend in Jersey that he hangs around with just got into Princeton out of the same high school Brady's going to go to. And I forget, he went to one of those places, not Sioux Falls. I don't know which one it was.
Big league. That's a big league. That's huge. There's over 20 teams in that league, I believe.
I don't know if Fargo still has a team, but they did when I was there.
I think they still do.
In fact, Dave Christian from the U.S. Olympic team ran it, coached it. But there was Sioux Falls, there was Sioux City.
Yeah. So it looks to me like we did a lot of this when I was in college coaching. We put guys in prep schools.
Right.
And we had 3 feeder schools that we used. And it looks to me like the colleges, almost like the 2 kids that just went to Michigan, Ryan's kid and Seamus, they were basically told, you're coming to Michigan, you got a full ride, you got to go play for Sioux Falls.
Yep. And just in that league, it's not even necessarily a team because they get drafted. They don't have a lot of choice where they go.
Yeah. Well, I know both of my daughter and her husband, both are Ivy League. They want, if all possible, Brady goes to an Ivy League school. And he looks like he's got grades and all that stuff, but that's their goal. I don't know if it's his goal.
Man,
but he hangs around with Ryan Vesey, and Ryan's a Cornell guy, so he's hoping that he plays well enough that Ryan thinks he should.
Still great hockey at a lot of those schools too.
Between Cornell and Princeton and Yale, I think those 3 are pretty much in the top 10 all the time.
Yep, you're right. More times than not.
But it is kind of funny that they are playing, and they're going somewhere next week too. I told my daughter, I said, "You, Mrs. Academics, I know." And she lets them do it all the time.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com will join us in less than 20 minutes. We'll go through the big games on the college slate. Pat Kirwan joins us for 10 more minutes, courtesy of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us, well, thanks to Pinchers. Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
All right, Pat, one of the games that David and I always laugh about because we've been on opposite sides, I think, since at least for the last 5 years, is the big game in the AFC South, Tennessee and Indianapolis. Will we find out if either of these teams are a representable football team, or is this just guesswork to see who wins this damn division at some point?
It appears like it might be just guesswork, and you can make a case. Now, last week, Indianapolis in their first rematch game went from that 24-0 shutout by Jacksonville to a win, and you would never know that they lost 24-0 the first time they played Jacksonville. So here's the next rematch. It's only the second rematch in the NFL this year, and it happens to be with the Colts once again. So when they lost last time, 24-17, they got down 24-0, I think, right away. And they stopped, basically closed down Tennessee after that and crawled back into it. And Ryan threw for way over 300 yards. So I think they're getting Leonard back. They're getting a couple of guys back. So the one thing about pro football, we talked about it last week, is these guys, rematches are an opportunity to split. And I think, Mark, you agreed with me. There's more splits than sweeps. So I think the Colts have a chance to, take care of business here. And Tennessee, it's really just about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, I looked him up against the AFC South. Derrick Henry, in his career, averages 137 yards rushing a game against the whole division. That's what you're up against. You're not up against Tannehill and those guys.
Titans have won 4 straight in this matchup and 5 of 6. The Colts have become obsessed with the Titans. There is a lot at stake here, and I'm talking about jobs, I think, in Indianapolis. If they don't win this game, it'll be interesting. Will the Colts finally get Jonathan Taylor, Shaq Leonard back? Those two have been battling injuries. All right. Listen, we touched upon the Dolphins, but quickly, Dolphins Sunday night against the Steelers. We know the Steelers defensively will show up. What do you think?
Miami, they're getting Tua back. They've got a better football team. They're putting a kid back on the field in Pittsburgh, for the Steelers. I like the Dolphins to rebound. 3-game losing streak, enough is enough. I don't think it'll be a pretty looking game. I thought the Steelers played, I would say, over their head a little bit last week. Glad for them, but I like the Dolphins.
All right, the Bucs, it's Carolina. They're going to win, but what are your concerns with the Bucs right now? Brady going to the wedding, does that bother you? I don't think the yelling at the sideline stuff bothers you. Just where are you with Tampa right now, Pat?
Well, the offensive line has been a major issue since the summer when I was there. We all know the history. They lost both guards, one to free agency, one to retirement. They lost their center to injury. Then they lost a backup lineman that was a starter because of default. So they've had injuries. The left tackle missed games, Donovan. So it's been that. And Tom Brady's not going anywhere. And what causes him to flip out on the sidelines? Getting hit. And that will continue, I think. And he's going to have to get better at getting rid of the ball, which he was great at. But there's no Gronk to play pitch and catch with when the line doesn't block. I think he covered up a lot of Patriot line problems for a long time, hitting Gronk on a 5-yard pass.
Falcons at Bengals. I think the Bengals are about to go on a little bit of a run here. I think this is just a softer part of their schedule at Cleveland, host Carolina, at Pittsburgh. Not a real good team on their schedule for a month or so. But the Falcons, one of the surprise teams of the league, Pat.
I talked to Arthur Smith, talked to him yesterday, talked to him every week. We all know what his vision for winning football was. Run the ball. He's a disciple of the Tennessee world. He's big, tough run guy. He loses Patterson. I thought this would fall apart. He's got the 2 young kids running the ball. He sticks to the run. So what does he really do? He keeps games close and then look for an opportunity. And who gave him the opportunity? Mariota running the ball late in games. I think Mariota pulling the ball and running the RPO stuff and run pass option and all that. He is good at it. He's not a great quarterback, but he is in the right place. They can keep it close. I'm a big fan of Lou Anarumo over there running the Cincinnati defense because he'll give you a 3-man rush on one play. He'll blitz 6 guys the next play. And Arthur recognizes that's where the problems are.
Kansas City's taking on the Niners. The Niners are just banged up in a big way, Pat. I'm stunned that this line's only 2. But how do you see the game?
Well, getting McCaffrey in there has added something to the game, and we're all going to be anxious to watch. He'll play right away. He's a 3rd down back right away, most likely. But Kansas City, coming off a loss, I doubt. First off, I don't see them losing 2 in a row, nor do I think you guys will. They are a good football team. They probably lost home field advantage, but I could see them winning this one by 10.
Pat, you mentioned McCaffrey on third down. How in this short of a time do you get someone? I mean, they just got him today. How much work is there to be done to get someone in on, particularly on third downs?
Package. You don't have to give them the whole offense. You're going to package him up and have maybe a 10-play package where you can feature what he does. And he knows how to come out of the backfield and run a choice route. And the quarterback and him will figure it out. It's not hard. Come out. Where's the leverage? Are you getting covered inside? Break out. Otherwise, break in. Sometimes go up the field. So there's things he can do right away. But I think the way you do it with this trade deadline stuff, and we're getting more active, is you come out with a package, 10 plays. Next week, it'll be 20 plays. The third week, you'll have the whole offense.
Starting to get concerned about the Ravens. We both picked them to win the division. They're finding ways to lose games. I mean, they should be no worse than 5-1, maybe even undefeated, Pat. And they've been doing this now for almost a full season. How concerned are you about Baltimore? They are hosting Cleveland.
Well, this is the test right now. If they can be who they should be and not lose leads in the second half of games and not show up on defense in the fourth quarter, and they've given up 64 points in the fourth quarter. So those are the big ifs for them. And then can you handle the run game? Because we all know what Cleveland's going to do. They're going to run the ball 35 times. And they're going to try to keep it close that way. Hopefully Brissett doesn't throw some interceptions. But Lamar, are you losing money? Because I think he's losing money.
Well, he did last week. I didn't think he was losing money to the final 5 minutes of the Giants game.
Yeah, is he feeling the pressure? It was interesting observation about him in pregame last week. And this has been made to me by a couple of football guys. He is sitting on the sideline during some of the parts. He didn't go out for the coin toss with the captains. He's sitting there by himself. I'm wondering if the pressure's getting to him.
How concerned are you about what's going on in Green Bay? Rodgers also missed a practice this week because of a thumb injury, but there seems to be issues that, well, everybody's not happy.
Well, Rodgers didn't come in the spring, so the Packer fans haven't forgiven him for that. Don't tell us the young receivers aren't ready when you weren't here in the spring. We talked about it on Tuesday. He's got to get back into team mode. And I'm not talking, he probably is anyway, but he's got to get publicly involved here and be excited with his football team and be the leader he's supposed to be all the time. Sometimes you got to fake it. He may be ready to retire, but he's here now. Finish strong. That's all I'd say to him.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains weekday afternoons, 3 to 7 Eastern. He then works weekends with CBS Sports NFL Today show. He also does a show on Saturdays with Jim Miller, 2 to 5. So you get Pat for 23 hours a week. And he joins us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Pat, safe travels, and look forward to talking to you again.
Good luck with your picks, David. That's all I can say today. See ya.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, boys.
I'll make sure to send Pat my picks so that, when he makes his picks with Jim later today and Saturday, that he knows, go in the opposite direction.
The week-to-week NFL picks haven't been awful. It's just the 5, 6, 7, or 8 against the number.
No. I'm doing decently picking winners straight up. Yeah, it's that whole point spread thing, which is really a problem. Chris Landry next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, what do you mean the Arlington Heights mayor is raising flags? Like what? Concern? I mean, I don't know how if you're Arlington Heights you could say no.
Hi, Chris.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Yourself?
How are you?
Good. It's getting that time of year where I'm starting to get run down a little bit. mid-season and hoping I'm getting old. And how can I get through this season? Is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But it'll work. Y'all doing all right?
Oh, yeah. Looks like your notes have notes over there on that table. Looks like your notes have notes over there, man.
Yeah, I'm just doing some of my scouting report stuff. Yeah, I got stuff I'm working. Yeah, I always do. Stuff's in a computer, but I grew up before computers were really the thing, so I've gotten more towards that, but yeah, I still have to take notes.
I think we're all the same. It's just easier. It's easier in a notebook than it is anywhere else.
Yeah, it's just and talk it in, and it's that.
We're coming back, guys.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Our final segment in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte for the week. And on Fridays, that means Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com, LandryFootball.com. You can follow him on Twitter at LandryFootball. Chris, thanks for your time. Can I get a little nooks and crannies with you to start? How is anyone going to stop Tennessee's offense? Are they doing something which in just schematically the way the rules are in 2022, you know what? They're going to score their points against everybody, including Georgia? Or did Alabama defensively just have an out-of-body experience?
Well, it usually is the case. It's a combination. But for Tennessee, they've got a really good scheme. A couple of things that are different. They have wider splits than normal. And what they do is they create what we call conflict of assignment for the defense. So, for example, against Alabama, they ran the bunch sets very often to the boundary where, most people, including Alabama, will play their safety to the field. The reason why Jalen Hyatt just went off and had an unbelievable day is they were shading over to Brew McCoy, who's their best receiver this year, Cedric Tillman being out most of the year. So it's a combination of the tempo, the scheme, but they've got playmakers. For example, Utah State runs basically the same scheme from the same tree as Tennessee. They didn't have the success against Alabama because they don't have the playmakers. So what they did is they got and then Tennessee will focus on running the football a lot more than people realize. You get the big plays deep, no question. But they suck those Bama safeties in, and that you've got to make some decisions. You're going to have to stay back or you're going to have to defend the run. I think that what Alabama did is they didn't have enough guys that could cover. So how do you beat them? Well, the first thing is you got to get pressure on the quarterback. I thought Alabama would be able to get home with pressure, and they did not. Probably the most untold story about the success of the game was the play of the Tennessee offensive line. Will Anderson didn't tee off and kill them. I thought they were going to crash the mesh point. They didn't. So that's what you have to do. You have to get home with pressure. They get the ball out quick. The tempo's quick, but you got to get home with pressure. And I think you got to play deep. You got to play a little soft. You got to play a little too deep man under and make them beat you in chunks. Don't allow them to beat you with the 9 route. They can be beaten. This is not oh my God, Tennessee's just broken the code. They're really good. And you have to have the components to cover, but you've just got to do a good job of getting pressure with that deep coverage.
So jamming them and getting up on those receivers is not the way you defend that then. Because as I was watching the game, they had no ability to get physical with them on the line of scrimmage, and it was getting free runs. So there's no way you're still playing back on them.
Absolutely, because here's the thing. They run those bunch sets, and all they do is if you get up and jam, they run those scissor cuts, and then basically the defenders are screening out one another, and then you really got nobody back. So I think that's difficult. And they run so many receivers that you have to have multiple guys to cover. So to David's point, well, what do you need? Multiple guys that can cover and really good pass rush. You have to have that. And that's really the key. And look, with all that said, Alabama, the other thing you do, if you're really good, if you're Georgia, if you're Alabama again, just don't have 17 penalties in a game, regardless if you think some of them are bad calls. Because Alabama wins the game. I thought when Dallas Turner returned the fumble, I said, it's over. Tennessee's done. And it's just mistake after mistake. So play a clean game. If Alabama and Tennessee play again, you heard it here first, Alabama wins. Because I don't think they'll play that way again.
And obviously we can get into how Georgia matches up with Tennessee a couple weeks from now.
All right, Clemson is starting to find their form, Chris. They're getting players back. They play Syracuse, who's undefeated, pretty good defense. How do you see this game?
Well, first of all, Syracuse. Look, previous Syracuse teams, even against this week's schedule, might have been 3-3, instead of 6-0. So a lot of credit to them. They're really good. We know they've got a great running back, Garrett Strader, the former Mississippi State quarterback, playing well and doing a really good job defensively. Don't buy into they're ranked in the top 10. They played Wagner, Connecticut, Louisville. That was a mess in the first week where they turned it over 20 times or whatever. I think this is a different game. They've done all their damage at home. That's when they got against a Purdue team that's pretty good, and they won that late. I think this game could be close for a while, but Clemson clearly is better. They're playing on the Syracuse is playing on the road. I think, and I was looking at their schedule, Syracuse's schedule. I think they got at least 4 losses coming the rest of the way. I think they're good. I think they're playing with confidence, but I think a lot of it, let's give them credit for what they've done. You can only play who you play, but I think they'll get exposed a little bit. Maybe it's only 3 losses. But I think one of them is going to be this week. I don't think this Clemson team is great. I think you can throw on them, but I still think they're head and shoulders above everybody. Well, I think they're better than everybody in the ACC.
Big weekend in the Big 12. Don't know if anyone's paying attention or not. This weekend could go a long way to determining who's going to play in the Big 12 title game. The 2 matchups involving ranked teams. Texas on the road in Stillwater and a clear favorite, although the money's coming in on Oklahoma State. The line's down to 6. How do you see it?
It depends on the health of Spencer Sanders, who had a shoulder injury last week. And, if he can play, look, this Oklahoma State team looked like they had TCU dead in the water for a stretch, and they couldn't hold it. This is a good, balanced offense that Oklahoma State has. They don't defend the run as well as they did last year, but they still got a really good pass rush. This Texas team, defensively, I know it was Iowa State last week, but they play pretty good defense. They were able to win a game. I know there was a controversial call, but with Quinn Ewers, this is a different looking Texas team. I think it really is going to come down to the health, even if he plays, to Spencer Sanders. I think this is a tough matchup for Texas, but I think they're very capable of winning it on the road, particularly if Spencer is not completely healthy.
There are a lot of teams out there that find ways to lose. We don't give enough credit for teams that find ways to win. TCU is one of those teams that continues to find ways to win. They host Kansas State this week.
I am so looking forward to this matchup. You talk about complete contrasts in styles. TCU, look, let's talk about their defense real quickly because people don't talk about it. They're not a great defense, but they came with three 3-and-outs and a turnover late to flip that game around against Oklahoma State. I know it's their offense, but you have to get off the field defensively, and they're a little bit better than maybe they may get credit for. Offensively, they're really, really explosive. Max Duggan is outstanding. You got to defend him as a runner as well. They don't design a lot of it, but he can take off and run. Kansas State is going to do what they always do, even when the good Oklahoma teams are there. They run the football. They run it with the quarterback. They convert on 3rd down. Defensively, they don't give up big plays. They will make you just chunk and chunk and chunk and think that if you got to go 10 or 11 plays, they're going to stop you with one of them. This is going to be we got to control the football, take the air out of the game, and we got a fast break offense. I love this stuff because it's 2 different styles. Who's going to win out? Expect it to be close. TCU's the last hope for the Big 12 in terms of going an unbeaten team. K-State's unbeaten in the conference, but they got that loss to Tulane. It's going to be a fun one to watch, man. It's my most intriguing matchup of the week for me, and it will tell us a lot, those two games, about at least who's the favorite in the Big 12. I think Oklahoma State, Texas loser is pretty much out, although not technically mathematically out.
A lot of money coming in on Kansas State. It lines down to 3.5. TCU favored at home in this one. All right, game days headed west, and it's Fox's really big game of the week, even though it's at 3:30. UCLA at Oregon. UCLA is the Pac-12's last best shot because they're still undefeated. And if they get this one, Chris, then it's probably the USC game that determines everything. But UCLA is a clear dog at Oregon.
Well, and it's just what you said, clear dog at Oregon, and that's usually the case. It's very tough to win there. And UCLA has done all their damage at home, pretty much. The only really road game is Colorado. They're not very good. But I will say this, UCLA on film looks like the best team in the Pac-12. Now, are they going to show up and play like the best? Outstanding quarterback, people know that. Outstanding running back in Zach Charbonnet. The offensive line is playing very well. The defense is playing as good as anybody in the Pac-12. UCLA's defense is for real. They're good. They're really good. Oregon, people think that Loft got blown out by Georgia, forget about Oregon. If you're not paying attention, you don't realize how much better this team has gotten. They're really good up front. They offensive line's good. They've got a very explosive offense now. They are finding their rhythm, and defensively, this is a really good team. So this is not just, well, UCLA's up here and Oregon's down here, and they got home field advantage. These may be the two best teams in the Pac-12 right now, even though all around, USC, all due respect, I think they're in the mix. But this is really going to be tough for UCLA to win on the road. And if they win this, it's a big-time statement game. And you're right. We've got to get by this game to consider that the Pac-12 has a playoff shot. But this is the game that I think people are going to take notice if they're able to win it. But it's going to be tough in Autzen. It always is. I think it's the toughest place, along with Rice-Eccles, in the Pac-12. It's the only thing for people in the South to visualize. It's the only place that has kind of an SEC-ish feel, Big Ten, feel. It's the other places a little bit more pro-ish, sterile, not these places. Autzen's really going to be something.
There's hatred towards the opposition in Eugene. There is no doubt. Oregon fans, while Portland people are all really nice, they can get nasty when it comes to their Ducks. I've seen it happen.
And they're real close to the field. It's kind of the box type feel. Whereas, like USC, UCLA, I mean, they got the track, and it's like, yeah, where are you? It is just, it's like a little box type feel, and 50,000 feels like, it's like going to Starkville, where they're on top without the cowbells. It's really tough. That's why there are different teams at home. And this Oregon team, I need to remind everybody that they are really good. Both these teams are good. I think we'd be talking about these two teams, in a 12-team playoff.
If the pollsters had their way, Ole Miss would probably be a favorite. But LSU is a 2-point favorite at home against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss had a rough game defensively against Auburn. They've got to fix that this week.
I think that has a lot to do with it. And home field, it's about 3, so it's about where it should be. Here's the thing, and we discussed it last week when we talked Florida and LSU. What are we going to get out of LSU? Are they progressively, just gradually getting better? Well, we saw a lot of the best offensive game of the year by far for LSU against Florida. That LSU team beats Ole Miss. But the mistakes on special teams, given this Ole Miss offense extra possessions, is not going to get it done. So they're going to need to play the same type of game against Florida, but clean things up in terms of turnovers. You can move the football against this Ole Miss defense. I do think LSU feels like defensively, force Ole Miss to throw the football. This is a run team. It's a tempo run team. Make Jackson Dart beat you through the air. That's going to be the key here. I think it's going to be a fantastic one. And, Ole Miss has got, 70th, 75th ranked schedule. They haven't played anybody really all that good except for Kentucky. So that's the one good win that they have. LSU's, not beaten many good teams. Mississippi State's won Florida's decent team. So this is going to tell us a lot about both.
All right, Chris, we've got 60 seconds. I'm Billy Napier. I call you. Tell me what you're seeing on film about our defense. Is it scheme or is it talent? Because they're the worst third down defense in the country. Is it scheme or talent that's their bigger flaw right now?
Well, I think they can do some things schematically to mix things up. We can get into it when we have more time. But I think it's a lot of personnel based. A lot of it is their personnel doesn't really run what they like to run and what they believe in defensively. So it's one of those cases of they're building for the long haul. You're going to play it our way, and the younger guys are going to learn it the right way. When we get better talent, we'll be better. I'm not saying they're throwing away the season, but they're not really adjusting some of the things that probably would help them a little bit more, because I don't think they feel like those guys can handle it. I think it's a combination of it, but it's a lot of personnel based.
So in 10 seconds, what Napier's basically doing is he's taking the square pegs, he's putting them in his round holes, and the guys that can't do it, he's just going to move on from.
Yes, because he feels like even making some schematic adjustments are not going to be comparable for even the personnel to make those adjustments during the season.
Chris, as always, we learn when we have you on. We appreciate it. Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll talk next week.
It'll be fun. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com, LandryFootball.com. You can follow him on Twitter at LandryFootball. Well, I'm headed to Baton Rouge, and he thinks it's going to be a great game, so I hope he's right.
Miller and Moulton. For those of you listening in Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, and Port Charlotte, enjoy the sports this weekend, not just the football. A great sports weekend. Enjoy all of it. We'll be back on Monday morning. Bob Pockrass talking NASCAR in the bonus hour is next.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. All right, I'll try to fix it, Ammo. Dun, dun, dun. But I'm not going to do it until this weekend because I'm not messing with anything during the show. But thank you. Dak says he's starting.
Yep.
I like it. It's the pick I want to be right about more than anything. Not to be right just because of what it would do. That's gold if that were to happen. Got a guest here, Felipe.
$15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour on this Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, who do you think got the better of the Christian McCaffrey trade? The Panthers, who got 4 draft picks, or the Niners, who got Christian McCaffrey? Go to floridasportsnetwork.com. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, and vote. NASCAR's at Homestead, 3rd race in the state this year. It's also 3rd to last race of the season. Ross Chastain, the pride of Alva, Florida, 2nd in the points. A real shot to win the championship. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports is kind enough to join us once again. He's in Homestead. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Pockrass, Pockrass. Bob, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Great. And, of all the things I would have predicted this year, a Christian McCaffrey trade from the Panthers, maybe possible, a Ross Chastain chance at a championship? No way. And look, they're going to crown a champion 2 weeks from Sunday, and nobody would be surprised right now if Ross Chastain is battling to hoist that trophy.
Well, an interesting season for Ross, too, because he was an incredibly aggressive driver. He wrecked a lot of guys, got himself in a little bit of trouble, finally got taken out. And it seems since the ultra-aggressive driving of the first half that Ross learned his lesson, because he has not been making headlines the last few weeks. He's just been driving, getting good results, been up near the front, and now he's got a shot to win a championship.
Yeah, and look, when Ross's history is about grinding and trying to carry the car on your back, right? And now he doesn't necessarily need to do that. He's had to learn how to race, with a car that's capable. He has a car capable of running top 5, a car capable of winning, and he needs to make sure he takes care of that car and make sure that he puts it in the right position instead of trying to take maybe a 10th place car and putting it in the top 5 and taking risks. He's learned that he doesn't have to. He's learned when to take his risks, when to make moves, and just like all the drivers, learning this new next gen car. This is a car that. And look at Chase Elliott last week. He could not find the edge that he needed to drive that car on to be able to go fast. He felt like it was going to spin out every lap. And drivers are just still learning this car, and from where kind of Chase was last week to where Ross was. When you're running up front, you don't want to, you have a good car. You don't want to push it over the edge and make a mistake too early.
Do we think, by the way, that the bad blood that Ross brought on himself, do we think now that it has subsided and we haven't seen anything happen so far in the playoffs? Do we think that the likelihood is strong that we're not going to the rest of the way?
Well, that's a great question. I think as long as Denny Hamlin was still in the playoffs, Denny's not going to do anything that could hurt himself, right? And so that's the thing. Whenever you tangle with somebody, you risk damaging your car and impacting your day. And so I think a lot of the people that he's tangled with are still alive in the playoffs, and they don't want to hurt themselves. So, I still don't think they're going to make things easy on Ross. There certainly are drivers who feel like they've been wronged by Ross this year. And, I think the key for Ross is he needs to stay up front. If he gets in a situation, and especially like at Phoenix, where he gets, where he has a problem and gets put in the back, I don't see him having as easy a time getting to the front, maybe as some others who maybe are in better good graces with other drivers.
And you mentioned Chase Elliott had a rough week last week. He's in third. If I were to say it's still Chase's championship to lose, would I be way out of bounds with that?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, certainly concerning how bad they were last week, and not only how bad they were, but William Byron, was good, but he wasn't great. And so the question is yes, Homestead is a 1.5 mile track like Las Vegas, but it's a very different track than Las Vegas. And so will they have the same issues this weekend? So, I mean, look, Chase Elliott and Joey Logano are the only 2 former champions. Their experience should help. And I think Chase Elliott has the ability to put bad races behind him. So I still view Chase probably as the favorite, but I don't know whether I would say that it's his championship to lose.
Bob Pockrass covers NASCAR for Fox. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Pockrass, Pockrass. Bob Pockrass joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Were you surprised that NASCAR suspended Bubba Wallace for a race? That's a really big penalty. They don't do it very often. I think it's because Bell got caught up in it. That if it was just Bubba and Larson, NASCAR would have said boys are being boys, but he probably ruined Christopher Bell's chance to win a championship, or the two of them together did. Were you surprised by the suspension?
A little bit, because look, they've only suspended. He's only the 4th driver in the last 11 years to be suspended for, intentionally wrecking another driver. So, and certainly that's happened a lot more than 4 times.
Right.
What makes this different is, look at Jeff Gordon at Phoenix 10 years, back 20 in the mid 2010s. He took out a guy who was still had a shot at the championship, and and a big fight ensues, and he gets a big fine and some points, and that's what I thought they were going to do to Wallace. But I think now NASCAR says it was that the fact that I took out Bell did not really factor into their decision. They felt that it was a really dangerous move, and I think with all the talk about safety this year, all the talk about how drivers are, how impacts on this car, the drivers are feeling worse. The fact that you had somebody right hook somebody on a straightaway, on the apron, so you turn them into the wall with all the velocity in front of traffic, right? A lot of people say, well, Bell hit him, so that probably softened his blow to the wall. But what if more drivers, had hit him as well? I think this one. Sometimes I think this is one of those things where they know it when they see it, which isn't a great way to necessarily officiate if you want to be consistent. But I think this is one that they saw, and it looked so bad. It had so much danger potential that they felt like that they had to take action. And don't forget, the 5 is also still in the race for the Owners' Championship. So that team was also still vying for potentially millions of dollars as well.
What grade would NASCAR give this season? We've had all these different winners. We've had a terrific season with the new car. Is NASCAR over the moon with this? Would they rather have someone dominate? If it was behind closed doors, how would they feel about this year?
I think as far as competition-wise, they give it for a new car, they would probably give it a B+, A-, maybe overall a B because of the struggles on the road courses and short tracks. When you take in the safety concerns, I think I don't know how they'd look at it. I think more people would look at it as high C's or low B's, just because they felt like that they obviously need to make changes, and the question is, did they make changes quick enough? But on the track, especially the intermediate tracks, have been A's, and and now the challenge is to get the short tracks, and granted, you don't have a ton of short tracks, but you end the season after this week at Homestead with Martinsville and Phoenix, and man, you need to have good races there, because you can have 34 great races, but if your elimination race to get drivers into the Final Four and your championship race aren't the best races, that's going to sting a little bit.
Is Kurt Busch's career over, by the way? You were talking about how drivers seemingly have gotten pretty banged up when they've wrecked in this car, that it has not necessarily, there's been some serious concussions this year. Is Kurt Busch's career over because of one?
Possibly. He left. He felt like he couldn't commit right now to next year full time. But he, at this press conference last week, he didn't have his family there. It wasn't like this is my retirement announcement. Last week was for him just an announcement that he wasn't going to race full time. He left it open that he potentially could return. And quite frankly, with concussions, you just don't know how. You just don't know the recovery. So you just don't know if he's going to be able to continue to make the progress that he feels that he's made to the point where they feel he can race again and be able to sustain another hard impact.
What are you hearing in terms of who's got good cars this week? Because this is the one and only race this year at Homestead. So this car hasn't raced on this track. Do you have a feeling that, a certain team or driver is, better than everybody else this week? Who do you like?
Well, they tested at Homestead a few weeks ago. Everybody could test. Each organization could have a car or two there. I heard both Bell and Hamlin were really good. So I would look for those drivers to be good. It's hard. You hear about, several drivers skim the wall, but they got to find out where the edge is, right? So I think that, that those two guys you heard good things about. And, I know I want to say the Fords were okay and the Chevrolets were pretty good.
He's Bob Pockrass, and he covers NASCAR for Fox. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Pockrass, Pockrass, foxsports.com. Bob, as always, we really appreciate it. Safe travels. Hopefully we can talk again before the season concludes.
Yep, thank you.
Bob Pockrass, kind enough to join us from Homestead here on Miller and Moulton. Ross is in second. He's 21 points back. Now, he's only a point ahead of Chase Elliott and, about 12 or so points ahead of the fourth place driver. 8 drivers left to compete for the championship. Top 4 after next week's race in Martinsville are the only 4 that can win it at Phoenix.
Just stunned that Ross Chastain is sitting in second in this thing. I hope he can get to Phoenix with a shot at it.
Yes. I don't think that's his track to win it. And usually in this race, you got to win the final race. Usually the winner of what used to be Homestead, now it's Phoenix. Whoever wins usually wins the points title. But it would be awesome to be one of the 4.
It really would. What a remarkable season for Ross Chastain, no doubt there. Miller and Moulton, wrapping things up for a week. Good, bad, and ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap. Still about 25 minutes ahead. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Talk a little more football on a Football Friday. What else do we do? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Not going to press you if you don't get it either. Oh, did it get cold in here?
I'm sorry.
I don't need this pullover for outside. I need it for in here.
Like 63 outside.
Damn.
Who went yard for the Stros?
Hang
What?
on.
Who went yard for the Astros yesterday?
For Bregman.
Gotcha. I can get it.
Sounds about right, Canada Relief.
$30.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton, largely Football Friday edition here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We did just talk about Pockrass live from Homestead. 3 races left in the NASCAR season. Pride of Alva, Ross Chastain, 21 points out of first in second place with 3 races to go. Hot damn. Hot damn. Chase Elliott third. Joey Logano with the lead after a very eventful race last week in Vegas. You know what's been eventful, Mark? The baseball playoffs. Houston's up 2 spit, but the Phillies and Padres are 1-1. Right now, my $20, who's going to win the NLCS?
I'm picking the Padres. Don't ask me why.
Right. And I think, come on, they were separated by 2 games in the regular season. One won 89, the other won 87. And we know this, 2 teams on a roll. They're nobody thought either one of these teams was making the NLCS. So they're all playing with house money here. Pick your cliches. It's all true. And one of them is going to go to the World Series, which is awesome. I mean, it really is.
And I may be pulling for San Diego because of a text we got overnight, David. We've got a listener in our Twitch chat room who listens from San Diego. Used to be in this neck of the woods, has moved west. And he says, hey, Mark, gave his name in the Twitch chat. He goes, I'm only up for the final hour catching up on the podcast. I was at game 1. He goes, you're spot on. The atmosphere is wild. These people are starving for a World Series appearance. When it rained in the clinching game against LA, it was like Dodger tears had come to relieve a drought-stricken region. And the thing is that atmosphere is going to be matched equally tonight in Philadelphia. It's going to be off the damn chain in Philly. And with the two big boys in the American League, and the crowds are great, and it's Yankee Stadium for crying out loud, and the Astros have been there, so they're all in. It is refreshing, to say the least, to have a couple of newbies in there.
Phillies hadn't made the playoffs in 11 years. Padres hadn't hosted a playoff game since 2006. So you got two fan bases here. And remember, Padres in the first round, they had to play the 3 games in New York against the Mets. So both teams overachieving here, but now have a chance. I mean, heck, they're both 7 wins away from a championship. My goodness. But it is very much a toss-up series. Even when the aces go against one another. Darvish against Wheeler. That feels pretty damn even. 2-0 was game 1. And then once you get away from the 2 aces, though, you kind of think anything can happen. Nola's a hit-and-miss pitcher at this point. Blake Snell is hit-and-miss. Hell, you saw it in the same game how hit-and-miss Blake Snell is. I will say, even though the Phillies at home and Ranger Suarez has pitched well for them this year, I think Joe Musgrove's their second-best pitcher. And he's pitching tonight.
He's been great in the postseason. The Phillies have been hitting the ball pretty damn well.
Yes.
They've actually been crushing the ball in the postseason.
And they pounded the Braves pitching in the 2 games at Philly. They scored 17 runs, 8 and 9 in the 2 wins. So I think the series goes back to San Diego, though. So, we're going to get 3-2, I believe. I believe San Diego at least goes and gets 1. They're what, 3-2 on the road in the playoffs, and those 5 games were against the Mets and the Dodgers, 2 teams who won 212 games. So, I certainly think San Diego's getting 1. The question is, are they getting 2?
Houston getting the big win last night, and that leads us to our Clutch Vodka play of the day. What do we got today, Felipe?
Well, in that 3rd inning in the Astros game, Alex Bregman, sorry about that, he went yard.
Swing and a 3-pointer from way downtown. It's good! Alex Bregman with the long ball. It's 3-0. With 2 strikes, Bregman pops him.
Wind-aided home run off of Luis Severino, who pitched really well. The Yankees will take that kind of performance from him again if they can get him to the hill again.
As you pointed out, though, 2 games for the Yankees, 30 whiffs.
Unreal. 9 hits, 30 strikeouts so far for the Yankees. 2 runs in each game.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Go to clutchspirits.com and check out the Clutch Vodka Dolphins watch parties at Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Be a later watch party this week with a Sunday night game. So you may just go off the Bloody Marys and go to the Clutch and Soda, which would be clutch in and of itself.
Yankees throw Cole and Cortez in games 3 and 4 at home. They're 2 best pitchers, and they're going up against the Astros number 3 and 4 starters. So not just the math that they're down 2-0 in the series, Mark. If you're the Yankees, you got to win games 3 and 4. Come on now. You got the better pitcher in theory, and you're at home. Like Judge even said last night, the ball he hit that was caught at the wall in right center field in Houston, that's a homer at Yankee Stadium. Now, that's the only ballpark in which that fly ball to right center would have been a home run. Okay, but that Judge in the 8th, Judge would have given the Yankees the lead in the 8th if that game was at Yankee Stadium. So that's how important, the shift in scenery is.
Think it gets back to Houston?
Oh, man,
I don't. I had said Houston in 5 before it started.
And I liked Houston in 6, so I guess I'll say yes. But, man, I have not liked this Yankees team. Even when I was reacting to the Yankees when they were 50-20 the way that I'm reacting to the Giants now at 5-1. I was like, how in the world are they doing this? And if Judge doesn't, let's face it, if Aaron Judge doesn't carry them, they don't win.
Even
Period.
with Stanton hitting the ball a lot better right now. He's seeing the ball really well.
Yep.
The Judge is not. So you're just really trading one bat for the other at this point. The bats need to wake up.
Well, and quite frankly, it seems as if they only have 3 of them. Judge, Stanton, and Rizzo. Rizzo's given them a few key hits. Stanton hit the big homer to get them by Cleveland in the division series. I mean, it's time for the $300 million guy here. That's probably what he's going to get. But time to show up there, big fella. Think of it as a Jersey Mike sub. We'll say, how about Jersey Mike's 2 years ago signing Aaron Judge as their big national guy? That, you know what? Whoever did that, that person deserves a raise.
Well, now it's Danny DeVito, for crying out loud. As my wife pointed out, he looks the same age that he did in Taxi. That guy's he looked 60 when he was doing the show on Taxi 40 years ago, and he looks the same age now, for crying out loud.
Well, that's because he's dyeing his hair more now than he did then.
That sounds really good.
What does?
You just hit me like at 9:30, and I'm starting to get the hunger pains, and you went Jersey Mike sub, and that sounds phenomenal.
Well, I just did it because the Judge, he's their national spokesman. And you're right. Now they put DeVito next to him. Don't you think they recreated a little, Schwarzenegger thing there?
Little twins?
Twins? Yeah, that's kind of when I saw them in the ad together. So
there you go.
So we're both picking a decent upset. Mark's is a little more than decent. He's picking the Lions coming off a bye week to go into Dallas and beat the Cowboys. I'm picking Seattle, about a 6-point dog to go into L.A. and beat the Chargers.
You better be picking upsets if you're going to pick NFL winners, though. It's because there have been a couple every single week, and underdogs have been doing very well. Unders have been doing very well.
And how many of the unbeatens can stay unbeaten? Obviously, Clemson, Syracuse, one of them is going to lose. But can TCU? Can Ole Miss? Can UCLA? How many of the back end of the top 10, Mark, how many of them, Tennessee put themselves in position and then won the key game? Can these guys win this week?
We'll find out. Pretty solid week of college football. We'll finish things off with what's on tap. Today was a day when, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's all next on Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686. or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So again, McCaffrey was traded for a second, third, and fourth for next year and a fifth for the year after.
Yep.
Correct.
Interesting.
And the Niners pick up all the money.
Zach Greinke's 39.
Zach Greinke was at one of the Mariners Astros games, or the really long one, and he wasn't recognized the whole game. He was there with his family.
Pitched an amazing Game 7 against Washington that year. Bullpen blew it. He's one of those metrics guys, because I don't think Zach Greinke is a Hall of Famer, and everybody who's knee deep into baseball is like, oh my God, he's clearly a Hall of Famer. And I'm like, he doesn't even have 200 wins.
15 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this predominantly Football Friday edition here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I do just want to correct something. We were talking during the break. I know it's just a Twitch audience, but Zach Greinke came up. I said he doesn't even have 200 wins. Actually, he's got 223. You were commenting how it's his birthday today.
Yeah.
Zach Greinke, Hall of Famer. He's 82 games above 500. 223.
I don't think of him as
141. I don't either. But his ERA sub 3.5, which in this day and age is, considered sub 3 from, when most of us followed baseball. 223 wins, Zach Greinke.
Borderline Hall of Famer.
Those in the sport are like, oh, no doubt about it. I will say the analytics love Zach Greinke.
Well, wins and losses don't matter now. It's just what the metrics tell us, David. It doesn't matter if you win games. It's just what your WAR is.
Hey,
and as Seth once said, and as the song says, WAR, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Do you know that they've been playing Sunday Night Football for 18 years on television?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this will only be the third appearance by the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football?
Are you serious?
Seems about right. Think about it. How many seasons have they played in which they would even be remotely considered to be a flex game? Two. So of the 18 seasons, 16 of the 18. So take all those games out of the equation. The other thing that we've talked about, they have not been an entertaining product. Like, you can have a 7-win team that is actually fun. They score 30 a game. Not like they give up 35, but they're fun.
I got you. But first off, the first half of the season's not flexed.
Right.
That there were, even when there were some expectations about the Dolphins, they didn't put them in that slot. And it is a franchise that most of us think of on the whole as an upper echelon franchise. 3 times in 18 years. That sounds like the Lions or the Browns or teams of that ill, if you know what I mean.
Well, and think about it. 18 years, 8 or 9 games before the flexing starts. Do the math. I mean, 18 times 8 is what, 144? So basically the networks have had roughly 150 opportunities to schedule the Dolphins. And remember, sometimes it's just the Dolphins and who they're playing. But 150 times.
Just thought it was an interesting stat that I found there.
I like it.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Another rather boring day in history, but some big factoids. The first one is in 1917, when the first Americans see action on the front lines of World War I. We entered the war, or we declared war in June, sent troops over, but it wasn't until October until the first Americans would see actions on the front lines in World War I. We go all the way to 1973. Game 7. The Oakland A's beat the Mets 5-2 to retain their title. Their manager would immediately quit.
Dick Williams, yep. Wins back-to-back World Series. Hated Charlie Finley that much. He said, no, I'm out of here.
I'm done. That same day, Fred Dreyer of the LA Rams becomes the first player in NFL history to score 2 safeties in the same game. 1975, Fisk's home run in the 12th to beat the Reds 7-6 in Game 6.
Stay fair. Stay fair.
I don't know if I'm watching Fisk or Robin Williams right now. 1976, the Reds would sweep the Yankees. Johnny Bench, the MVP. That same day in 76, David, the Knicks retired number 19 for Willis Reed.
Bench hit like 550 in those 4 games. Munson also hit 500. I mean, 2 best catchers in the game, you could certainly argue, and they were both terrific. But
big day for David Moulton in 1977. Meatloaf releases Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if it's a bigger day for you or your wife.
Well, probably me.
That's like an iconic album in the Moulton household, though.
It was also because my mom had a longtime boyfriend in the 70s. His name was Bill, and good guy. He had a 55 T-Bird convertible. There only a few hundred of them were ever made. He had like the 83rd T-Bird that was produced. It was fire engine red. I told him growing up, I go, you cannot break up with my mother. I go, I have to drive that car to high school once. Once. They broke up before high school. But he had an 8-track player in the car. That was the only 8-track we had. We didn't have the capability of playing 8 tracks in the house. And the first time I rode in the car, I looked for some music. And he had 2 8-tracks, Beach Boys' Endless Summer and Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell.
That'll do it for you.
Riding around in a 55 T-Bird with the top down, listening to Meatloaf.
We go to 1980, where the Phillies in Game 6 beat the Royals 4-1 for the first championship in franchise history. Your MVP, Michael Jack Schmidt.
He had the big hit in Game 5. They had lost Games 3 and 4. The series was tied, and they were trailing late in Game 5, and Schmidt with the big hit to give him the lead. Remember Pete Rose catching the second to last out in the 9th? All right, Bob Boone comes over in foul territory, and it goes off his glove, and Rose, Johnny on the spot, was right there, reaches over, catches it.
Always remember Rose playing first for those teams and spiking the ball at the end of the inning.
Off the turf. Yep.
Off the turf, spiking the ball. Instead of just rolling it back to the mound, he used to spike the ball. 1989, Houston becomes the first major college team to gain 1,000 yards in a game. And in 1998, the Yankees sweep the Padres for their second title in 3 years. Those born today that are no longer with us, Alfred Nobel, big in prizes. Whitey Ford, big in pitching. Carrie Fisher, big in Star Wars. Those celebrating birthdays today. Judge Judy is 80. Mo Lewis is 53. Kim Kardashian, 42. Zach Greinke is 39. And Ricky Rubio is 32. And that is today was the day when. What did I miss, David?
Well, first off, don't just gloss over Mo Lewis. Mo Lewis is responsible for Tom Brady. Mo Lewis was the guy who took out Drew Bledsoe and hurt him. And, well, we all know what's happened in the 22 years since. So that's all. Mo Lewis, a little more than a footnote. If you know, it's a hell of a footnote. Put it that way.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The only thing I really have is it was today in 64 that the Milwaukee Braves raised their hand and said, yeah, we want out. Can we go to Atlanta? Which, you know, at the time, was kind of a big deal. How many franchises did we have in the South, Mark?
It'd be 0.
In the mid-60s?
I still contest in the 239, the Braves may be the most popular baseball team.
Because for a full generation from the mid-60s until the Marlins in the early 90s, that was the baseball you got.
Of natives, I should say, of people born here. They're Braves fans, a lot of them. and never converted to the Marlins or Rays.
So I think it took a year. Don't quote me, but today was the day in '64 that Milwaukee said, yeah, I want out. It was also then the day Bud Selig was a car salesman in Milwaukee. And that's when he started to get involved, because obviously they ended up losing the franchise, and Bud was responsible for bringing baseball back to Milwaukee.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
You know, David, I'm a Costco shopper. I get my gas there because it's quite a bit cheaper, but that may change because...
What?
Because the good now are the Circle K gas stations. According to Green Thumb Industries, one of the U.S. largest cannabis producers, they have created a partnership with the Circle K gas stations where you're going to be able to get a fill-up and a pre-roll all at the same place. That's right. They have partnered with Circle K to open up dispensaries right next to the gas station, making it convenient for all of you who have your medical marijuana cards to get a fill-up and a little bit more.
Boy, bringing new meaning to one-stop shopping, Mark.
Boy, I'll tell you, the sales of Doritos at Circle K is going to go through the roof.
Would you like a bag for that? Yes!
I just want to eat it right now. For the bad, we go to Fort Myers, where a couple of suspects are on the run after a pickup truck crashed into a home at 3:20 this morning. No one was injured, fortunately, in the crash, but witnesses said the driver and passenger took off on foot. Let's hope it wasn't their truck that they left in front of the house, because it should be pretty easy to find those folks who crashed into the house and fence. For the ugly, we'll stick in Florida, where, I mean, chilling surveillance video captures a well-dressed man wielding a machete knocking on the door of a Florida family home. Man's in glasses, a shirt and tie, and at 5:30 in the morning is ringing a doorbell with a machete. He disappeared as quickly as he came.
Haven't there been a lot of machete incidents in the good, bad, and ugly lately?
Way more than I'm comfortable with, David. Who are all these people with flipping machetes?
Where do you get one? Honestly, wow. And that is.
Yeah, that is. It's the good, the bad, and disturbing ugly on today, October the 21st, 2022.
Well, for as antisocial as I can be, there's no way, I don't know about you in your house, there's no way my wife would ever allow the front door to be opened at 5:30 in the morning. No way. No way. The person literally would have to be on fire. And then at that point, she wouldn't let the door open. She'd just call the fire department. I mean, that's Sebastian Maniscalco, the comedian who does the thing about, you used to love company and people knocking on the door, and now we all hide and the lights out and, get the sword, we're being attacked. That's my wife.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, David, but since we mentioned where are all the people with machetes and where are you getting them, the Twitch chat room has just given us like 60 different answers of where you can get one. Apparently you can get one everywhere.
Can I ask a question? A very serious question. For those that have a machete, why? Are you using it, or is it just something decorative? You want to put it on the wall? It makes the man cave more of a man cave? I mean,
a lot easier to cut down banana trees with a machete. I will say that.
No, but then the palm fronds.
Okay. I mean, once again, I farm everything out. I believe in contributing to the economy. So, okay.
That's your story and you're sticking to it. It's just that you really don't want to do the work.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, no. And finally, it took to my mid to late 40s to be able to afford to contribute to the economy. No, I was mowing my lawn in my mid 40s and it was like 100 degrees out. And I'm like, I got to see whether or not I can afford to have somebody cut my grass. And then once somebody started cutting my grass, well, let's see what else I can get people to do.
The good, bad, and ugly is usually for a little humor, a little bit of fun. Today, it's been an informative session for Miller and Moulton, who had no clue where to get a machete and now have a list of places that we can go buy one.
We really do.
Wow. Unbelievable.
I got mine here. I got mine here. I use it to clear brush while hunting.
Also, it shows that Miller and Moulton, A, don't hunt, B, don't do yard work,
right,
and C, are apparently really lazy people around the house because we have no clue of all these uses for a machete, and everybody else in Florida seems to be, what do you mean? Now, Moulton, I would tell you the other thing it would be good for, taking care of those snakes that sneak into the pool area.
I was about to get into that. I've used a machete before to kill a snake.
Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. I never thought of it, but with my fear of snakes, maybe
you can ask the wife this Christmas for a machete.
No, I'll just get one. I'll just get one.
See your wife stopping either at Lowe's or the pawn shop. Where are the machetes at?
And I'll have to keep it in my car, okay, which will, be a little awkward when I actually need it in the condo one day. But
It's like a pirate sword. Like, you gotta be careful.
So is that your story, Felipe? I should tell my wife this is for Halloween.
No,
right?
Yo ho ho. We had Roy Cummings on the show today, honey, and I got a machete. I don't know what to tell you.
Aye, Captain. No, just trying to be realistic, honey. We have a grandchild now. She needs to learn the world.
Playoff baseball tonight, 7:30. Padres and Phillies series tied at 1 apiece. And the Panthers and Lightning and hockey and Sunrise in what should be a very entertaining game.
Yeah. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you from Boston, Foxborough, really, on Monday.
Oh, there's no hotels in Foxborough. You'll be in Boston on Monday. Who are you kidding? Unless you're staying at someone's house, for crying out loud.
I think there's one by the stadium. Apparently, we're in it.
Safe travels this weekend. Enjoy your games. We'll do it Monday morning all over again. Enjoy the football. Miller and Moulton. We'll have playoff baseball to discuss on a Football Monday on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me. Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.